Saturday and Sunday. Today would be a Memorial Day celebration chat. So all things military, Memorial Day, all of that stuff is good. Um, for those who don't know, Veterans Day and Memorial Day are not the same. Memorial Day, Veterans Day celebrates, service members, who've, uh, you know, gave their time and bodies to, defend the country and, you know, defend and serve their country. Memorial Day is to honor those who've fallen, the heroes who've fallen in the line of duty, protecting their country, serving their country, protecting their brothers. Okay. Um, this was a holiday celebrated after World War II with the folks we lost then, and it's continued on. Okay, so it's to commemorate all the service members who've fallen. Okay, those the folks who served and gave the ultimate sacrifice didn't come home. That's what Memorial Day is about, guys. Um, and just to let anyone know, as I said, today is to celebrate all things Memorial Day, veterans, people who've fallen, people who've served, all of that good stuff. So I will be forewarning people that if you make any little cracks or jokes making fun of the military and people who served, I will permanently ban you from this channel. I don't play that shit. If you want to go do that dumb shit, go somewhere else. Go to one of those little pro blackity black YouTube channels. Go to one of those little communist YouTube channels. We won't be playing that shit here. This this live stream here is a chat to commemorate those who've fallen. And as I've always said, if they aren't, if no one contributes, then we'll just end the chat early. Because the only reason I'm not out right now and doing something else is because it's a bit of a thunderstorm outside, and while I don't mind going out for a run in the rain, I do mind lightning. um, so yeah, and I've already eaten, so I want to let all that Memorial Day food digest. So again, for people just joining the chat, this is a chat just to celebrate all things Memorial Day and military, guys. As you can see, I have my old Army PT uniform on, both the shirt and the shorts. They still fit, guys. So, so yeah, old PT uniform on. So let's chop it up. Um, guys can let me know. Did any of you do a cookout? Did any of you go to a picnic? Did any of you go to any restaurants to celebrate Memorial Day? Did some of you still had to work today? Um, are any of you active duty? Any of you veterans? And and when I say veterans, I don't care what class of veteran you are, how you were discharged from the military. As long as you served, that's all that matters. So, yeah. So like I said, we can get this popping, or, if no one really wants to contribute today, then that's cool. We'll just call it a do and move on to something else another day. So, of course, like I said, I'm wearing my Army PT uniform, so I did serve. Um, I didn't come out with any disabilities or anything like that I'm aware of. And yeah, um, there's a few good Memorial Day movies out there. So if any of you know of any good movies, let me know about that as well. You can let me know if you watch any good Memorial Day films. I forgot the one with was it Ben Affleck and Cuba Gooding Jr. and Pearl Harbor. That's what it's called. The I've heard mixed stuff about that. People said it was both a some people said it was a good movie. Some people said it was just like a kind of soap opera type movie. So um, it it was okay, but it's not something that I would repeatedly watch or anything like that. And I haven't seen it in a long time. I only watched it once, maybe twice. 'Cause, I mean, I think it also had Robert De Niro, and there was a lot of stars um, in that movie Pearl Harbor. But it was a little hammy at times, and they tried to. I think it was too politically correct. They tried to do this little both sidism where they tried to show the the attack not just from the Americans stationed at Pearl Harbor, but also from the point of view of the Japanese who were attacking, making it seem like this was like some last resort for them. Like, yeah, I'm not buying that. I wasn't buying that argument. The way they tried to both sides the movie. So I think that was another reason why people didn't like the movie Pearl Harbor, is because they tried to give like both sides like equal credibility, as if the Japanese had no other maneuver to do other than to desperately attack Pearl Harbor. So anyway, like I said, guys, if um, if no one wants to contribute, then we'll call it a do for the day. And also, for some of you overseas, don't think that you can't comment or anything like that, because I think I might be getting some people who might be some of my overseas viewers. Maybe they don't want to um, commit to the conversation, but you're more than welcome to. Okay, but like I said, I'm gonna give this a few more minutes. If no one wants to contribute, then I'm going to end it. Um, so, is there any other things? 'Cause I really don't have any any speech I've prepared or any soliloquy I want to make about Memorial Day. I said we can talk about just Memorial Day celebrations. It can be as benign as that. It doesn't have to be like any deep thoughts about military or anything like that. Um, I do see a few people watching. So, like I said, um, this is all things military, Memorial Day, holiday, sort of stuff. So, if anyone wants to contribute, go right on ahead. Okay. I'm going to check some things while we're doing this to make sure that this is not that I didn't mistakenly make this for a kid friendly thing, which would keep people from being able to comment. Because I did do that once, but that was intentionally done when I was doing a conversation on like college majors, what was what sort of college majors were worth it, which ones weren't, and I did a whole spiel on that. That one was supposed to be kid friendly. However, I didn't know that it would block any comments whatsoever from that. So I've been reticent to do that again. But again, like I said, if you guys want to ask me anything or make any comments or talk about military, it's all I welcome it all. And of course, like I said, if we don't get any conversation about it, then we'll just end this somewhat early, which I have no problem doing. That's not a problem. It just means for me to be more careful in the topics that I choose. Yeah. So again, like I said, I don't think this is kid friendly. I'm gonna I'm going to end this soon because I'm not getting any conversation, and I want to make sure that either it wasn't an error on my end or that, like I said, if it's just a conversation people don't aren't interested in having, that's fine. But I just wanted to make sure I didn't make any error on my end, which prevented people from chatting. Because if so, then that would be a problem. Mm, let's see here. Uh, so, hey, hi Keisha, how are you? I think you are our first participant. this is just an experiment to see if people would be willing to, talk about today being a holiday and being a military holiday celebrating fallen heroes. No, I can see the comments. They just um you guys are my first two comments, Eric. Were there comments before that? Before, because the first comment I see is from Keisha H, which says hi. Were there comments before that that I didn't see? Oh, so there were comments before. Okay, I didn't see anything before that, but I was saying when I first started the video that this topic is on Memorial Day, um, as far as the holiday or talking about people's military experiences, all that sort of stuff. And we got our first person who's getting banned from the channel. Like I said, trolls almost let themselves know be trolls just by their username. And if people didn't see what I said earlier, I said any troll coming in on this live stream that has nothing to contribute to the chat and wants to make or makes fun of service members will be automatically banned from the channel. And I mean that. I can see your comments now, Doc Spencer. But like I said, anything that happened, anything that came before Keisha H's comment, I can't see. Did I hear the military missed its recruitment goal by 15,000 again this year? I haven't heard that number specifically, but I'm not surprised. They've been missing their quotas for a few years now. One is just because younger people have more options now than when I was younger. When I was younger, it's pretty much you go to college, you go to the military, or you find trade school. That's about it. Hello Masonry 2011. This live stream is about Memorial Day and the military. Thanks, Delphid. I appreciate it. Nantes is banned from the channel. I mean it, guys. Any of you little fanooks come on this channel saying dumb shit, you're gone. I don't. Conscription, I doubt it. I mean, we already have selective service. What I can see happening and what has been discussed in the last 3+ years is that they might extend selective service to females, which I think they should do anyway. If men have to sign up for selective service in order to be eligible for federal student aid, then so should women. The whole reason back in the day why they said that women shouldn't have the right to vote was because you should only have the right to vote if you had the duty to serve. So I think it would be quite fair to extend selective service to females, and that has been talked about. All right, you're getting banned. No, I'm just gonna remove you. Fuck you. Fuck off my channel. JBC is happening all over Europe. Well, conscription has that's not new. Most other Western countries, except for America, require young people to give up 2 years of service after they graduate high school. That was the case when I went to Germany. That was the case. I mean, that's the case in lots of places with my friends from Israel, and other Western European countries. And that's not new in Europe. Like a lot of places require young people to give like 2 years of service to either the military or like community service. The officer I tried joining the military, but I got disqualified because of bad hearing in one ear. If they would waive it, I would go to join right away. You can you've you probably could have requested a waiver. You can they will offer medical waivers depending on the situation. Like I have the person I've mentioned in numerous streams who I've given life coaching to, she has learning disabilities and she's autistic, but somehow she's still qualified to enlist in the Navy. I don't know how, especially when her very own psychiatrist told her she shouldn't enlist. So medical waivers can be done. And right now, since they are trying to make quota, I think it could happen. I think in the last 10 years, they've been way too picky on whom they let join and whom not. Like a friend of mine was told he was overweight and that his neck was too small. And I'm like, what? I was like, when I went to basic training, there was people who were coming in morbidly obese. I mean, because you get like, if you don't make it through your first cycle of basic training, you get 2 times, and if you wash out those 2 times, then you're thrown out of the army. But they didn't disqualify people just because they came into the military in bad shape, because the thought process was that we're going to get them in shape. You are off my channel. Oh, I'm who got banned? BSK, just a bunch of trolls. Anyone coming in here talking that dumb shit is I'm just removing them. I'm not timing them out, and uh I'm not hiding them from the channel. I'm just removing them. Eric says, "Have you ever seen the sci-fi movie Surrogates?" It's If not, it's basically predicts the future where will be drones, just IT workers getting coffee and bombing cities with cyborgs. Haven't heard of it. Move. JB says war is not symmetrical hybrid warfare. I don't know what you're talking about. Delphi says Eric has already happened in the Ukraine. I mean, drone wars isn't new. That was Obama's thing. That's why I don't really like the guy. Um, he and this doesn't come from any sort of right wing conspiracy theorist sort of information. That this comes from the Washington Post itself back um, 12 years ago. This was in the Washington Post. They literally reported on the fact that Obama was approving operations that even Bush didn't approve. And some of the stuff was like his drone war he had going in parts of the Middle East and East Africa, from Yemen to Somalia. Um, you know, so that's been a thing for a while, and drones were a thing when we were called up for duty. during the Second Persian Gulf War in the early 2000s, in the Bush era. So the drones are getting smarter, but I mean, it's not new that the technology has been around in the military, but you're always going to need a ground force. So BSK says folks in medical engineering, etc., can delay their compulsory service. Wealthy can buy out others, not rare. Yeah. I mean, well, yeah, during the draft, people who were wealthy found ways around the draft. Usually, they could pay off the right person so they could get like a medical a medical exemption from service. Or some people would go into the service and get like a really cushy position. Like Bush, he decided to do, I think, naval reserves as a commissioned officer. But to his credit, he was a pilot. He did become a pilot in the Navy, so I still give Bush his credit for that. Um, but yeah, he had sort of a cush job in the naval reserves, I believe. Um, I'm trying to think of, and yeah, and of course with college, like I don't know exactly how that worked, but I think if you were a full time college student, that exempted you from service as well. But back in the day, that was a very minor amount of people back in like the 60s and 70s who were in college as compared to now. Even now, there's not a lot of people in college as much as we talk about it. Most people don't go on to college nowadays, but way less did. We're talking like 50, 60 years ago, right? So yeah, I think you got exemptions for like medical, and usually those medical exemptions could have been bought for the right price if you were wealthy and if you were a university, a college student. Yep, JB, I'm getting them all the trolls out. Like I'm kicking them out. What do I think about the ROTC program? I think it's a fine program. Um, I wanted to do Army ROTC because when I was in Army Reserves while I was in college, there's a program that you can combine reserve and ROTC so that you're automatically bumped up to the level of corporal, and once you graduate, automatically you're commissioned within the Army Reserves as a second lieutenant. Um, but unfortunately, my campus didn't have Army ROTC. They only had Air Force ROTC. And to do ROTC, I would have to actually go off to another campus to do it. And that wasn't, the closest campus to me that was doing Army ROTC was in DC, which I think was like Howard University or Catholic University, one of those two places. And that was just too far to be commuting daily from one campus to the next, every day, on top of having my usual classes and other extracurricular activities. Eric says, I also predict the military will further loosen their entry standards, thus weakening America to foreign powers. Well, no, they need to loosen their entry standards. They are way too high right now. Like I said, their standards are way higher than what they were when I joined. And usually the standards do go up during peace times and then lower during war times. That's that's not a that's not going to weaken us to foreign powers. That's just a logistical a legit that's just a logistical factoring, because during wartime you need more people that you can get to do basic stuff, not to mention to fatten up our infantry. um but yeah, the standards are way too high. Like I just said, my friend couldn't get in because he was considered overweight and his neck too small, which is, I've never heard of anything like that. Besides, like I said, there were people when I came in who were morbidly obese. And the thought is that we're going to get them in shape in basic training, and if not, then they just won't make it through. But you at least give them that chance, and I think that's correct. And our standards were even more loose back long time ago. They used to let people who are, I mean, well, actually, the some of the, I think it was the Navy, but I think they've lowered their ASVAB requirements so low that you can be borderline mentally retarded, and I mean that in a clinical sense. I don't mean that as a pejorative, but in the medical, in the psychological definition, like someone who falls under like 90 I a 90 IQ score would be like borderline mentally retarded, like say around the IQ around 85 or so. They can get into they can now get into the Navy provided that they've graduated from high school. That's scary, but like I said, that's not new because back during the major world wars, World War One, World War Two, Korean War, even Vietnam War, we let people in with those low IQ scores, and I don't I don't see it being a problem. Us being too picky recently has been a problem because it's kept us from meeting our quotas. Us not being able to meet the quotas that we need weakens us. Not bringing in people who might be less than stellar. Like everyone coming in is not going to be like Duke, Flint, Snake Eyes, Lady J. that that's not what most soldiers come in. Most people in the military are not don't come in that gung ho. Most people don't look or act like Steve Rogers coming into the military. They're just average Joes, pun intended. Dilfer says, "Do you think World War III is a possibility with what's going on in Russia and with China starting to fund them?" Yeah, World War III is definitely a possibility. We have we're in the midst of three proxy wars right now, with the Israel Hamas war, and the Israel Hamas war has spilt across the Middle East, you know, engaging us with people in Syria, uh, Iraq, Iran, and Lebanon. So the Russian Ukraine war, we've been funding Ukraine and sending them sending them technology. And with China and Taiwan, we've been backing Taiwan, and all three of those countries we have recently funded hundreds of billions of dollars just a few months ago, as foreign aid to help those three people as we are part of these proxy wars, because all three of them are fighting against people that the U.S. has deemed foreign adversaries: Iran, Russia, and China. So, World War III is a definite possibility. AG says, Lake Worth, Florida, enjoying your channel, brother. Thank you, AG. BSK says, Air um, Air National Guard pilot, Bush Jr. National Guard. Yeah, but I think it was Navy. Um, it wasn't. No, it wasn't. You sure it was Air Force? I'm pretty sure it was Navy. You could be right though. I just know that he was a commissioned officer and a pilot like that. So to actually become a pilot does mean he actually showed off his military chops to become a pilot, because no one can just become a pilot. So if it was Air National, so whether it was Air National Guard or Naval Reserve, Bush still gets the credit, because again, like other people of his era, he could have simply refused refused the call by using his college status to avoid the draft, or he could have used his father's connections to get like a medical exemption or of some sort. But I have a strong inkling that Bush Senior wanted Bush Junior to serve in the military, because up until like the time of Bill Clinton, yeah, like Bill Clinton, there was usually we usually expected our presidents to have some sort of military service. Masonry 2011 says, "What did I do in the army?" I was like a cable technician, basically. Um, That's probably the best way to put it. I was a cable technician. We worked on, installing and maintaining cable and telephone systems, both on the both on the domestic scene, where we're just in we're on the bases and post, doing stuff like hooking up TV cable, telephones, stuff like that. But on the tactical side, we might have to lay cable for communications between two different two different units or whatever. That's why they off called us cable dogs, because they would see us basically running behind the big cable trucks, running cable from one place to another. And also we had to decrypt and encrypt uh, signals. So we had to have a high level security clearance, since we were like the sort of like the entry point for signal intelligence. So this little BLM clown is gone. Got BS cases around the Suez Canal. I wasn't in Panama, but before I came into my unit, they did deploy down there and do some training in Panama. I heard they had fun. um, Doc Sprint says my brother was born one leg shorter than the other. His training was at Fort Leonard Wood. Fort Leonard Wood. Okay. Missouri did stop him. Hmm. Okay, I think they renamed Fort Leonard Wood and a bunch of other army posts, because a lot of them had the names of prior Confederate Confederate officers. Which is, I'm of a mixed mind of that, by the way, because on one hand, I only know these posts named by the names of the Confederate the Confederate officers for which they're named. On the other hand, we shouldn't be celebrating the people. We shouldn't be celebrating the leaders of the rebellion against the United States, which has always been weird to me that we named a lot of our military installations after the rebels. Aroka says, I'd rather have an army of Forrest Gumps dedicated to their service than the average American these days, just to become fodder funded by taxpayers, but that's just me. God damn it, come. Who told you to assemble that rifle so quickly? You did, drill sergeant? God damn it, Trump. You must have a goddamn IQ of a goddamn 150. Keep going, soldier. Yes, drill sergeant. That part of the movie was funny as shit. Truth Hurt says almost all of the wars we get into are neocon wars. I can't agree with that one. Um, during the Bush, during the Bush and Obama years, yeah. Notice, for everything bad you can say about Trump, he didn't get us in any new wars. Also, what I think you mean to say is that most of our presidents have been neoliberals. Trump has probably been the first, and I'm not trying to advocate for Trump here on this live stream, so don't take it that way, guys, please. Yes, I did say I am planning on voting for him in November, but that's not why I'm saying this. I'm saying this merely as a statement of fact. This is not political at all, what I'm stating here. He's the only president that didn't drag us into any new wars at the time. He almost did. I will say that he almost got us into two of them, with North Korea and China, but he didn't. Whereas everyone else has, and pretty much every president we've had within the last 60 years has been some neoliberal. That's not the same as as a neoconservative. Um, and I really don't want to break that down here, but neoliberals are invested in the military-industrial complex. So, Visiblem says, "Have you ever tried curry?" Of course. What type of curry are we talking about though? There's so many curries. I've had Japanese curry. I've had East Indian curry. I had Jamaican West Indian curry. So, and of course, in East Indian curry, for the uh, there's not just one type of East Indian curry. There's several kinds because they don't even call it. Indians don't even call it curry. For them, it's just the sauce or gravy they put on their food. So it's there's like literally hundreds of different types of what we would call curry that East Indians eat. So yeah, I've had a few. To answer your question, visit Blam. Name a car for an edit. Mm, don't know what you're talking about. BSK said Bush Jr. discharged 1973 Texas National Guard aviation. All right, thanks for giving me the facts on that, BSK. So yeah, national, and you said it was Air National Guard, right? Yeah, I can believe it, but he, as far as I remember, he was a commissioned pilot, so that counts. So because a lot of people like to shit on the National Guard, I won't do that here. Everyone who served, I don't care if it was a reserves, National Guard, active duty, um, if whether you were enlisted a commission or received a uh, warrant commission, whatever. Trooper says, "Did you have to take the vaccine in the Iraq War?" No. Um, I don't know which vaccine you're. I think you're referring to the. I forgot which vaccine that was. They had talked about it back in 2002, 2003, but I don't remember receiving anything. We received a shit ton of vaccines and basic training though. I'm not an anti-vaxxer, so I'm not someone who thinks vaccines are dangerous. Vaccines are why the reason most kids can grow up to be adults nowadays because they get vaccines for things like polio and stuff like that that killed a lot of young people in the early turn of the 20th century. Chicken curry, yeah, of course. So I'm thinking you're probably talking about West Indian chicken curry. Yeah, of course I've had that. I love West Indian food. Where I grew up in Baltimore, I grew up in a West Indian community in Park Heights, Baltimore, same place where that crazy bitch Jada Pinkett grew up. She is Jamaican, I think, on her mother's side. I'm not West Indian, but I grew up in a West Indian community, and my nanny when I was little was Jamaican and used to feed me all those things when I was like a toddler. Cray, you're gone. You're getting on my nerves. BSK says Trump deal vis-a-vis Israel worthy of Nobel Peace Prize. Not sure what you meant about that when you lost me on that one. Kevin B says pizza and family are the same. When it's black, you have nothing to eat. Guess what you just won. Eric Roger says, "Yeah, don't worry about him, Eric. He's gone." Risa Chan says hello from Japan. Hi, Risa. Excuse me, guys, for getting water. Like, I lose my voice if I don't drink enough water. But again, hi, Risa. Thank you for joining my chat. I hope you come back, and if you if you haven't already, please like and subscribe. Um, you guys can hit the notifications. You can share. That helps me grow the channel. Like as you can see, I'm already trying to step it up with some of the things that I'm doing. Like I don't know if any of you caught the recent video I did talking about George Lucas receiving the most prestigious film award at the Cannes Film Festival last week, and he did a lengthy interview talking about the state of Hollywood today and defending his previous Star Wars films and talking about how Disney pretty much destroyed all his original ideas and that he doesn't like the sequel trilogy. So he gives complete credibility back to the fans who have said that what Disney is doing is not Star Wars, and Disney has tried to gaslight Star Wars fans, saying they're not true Star Wars fans, they're just racist and sexist. So George Lucas has swung the bat, and I'm just waiting for Disney to do some damage control on that. So I did a nice little, very short video on that. I hope you guys get a chance to check that out. Just my own little plug. I think I can plug my own stuff, right? Eric Roker says, also, what are your thoughts on the military-industrial complex? Has it grown too large for its own good and taken over by corporate interests? Well, but by definition, military-industrial complex means it's been taken over by corporate interests. So obviously that part is true, right? As far as has it grown too large for its own good? Uh, for its own good, no, of course. For its own good, it can never be big enough, right? You mean for our own good? For our own good, um, I'll give my honest answer. No, I don't. Um, as the world has become more inter interwoven, so that we're now looking at, like I said, we're looking at three proxy wars we're currently invested in right now. Um, like Tony Stark once said, uh, you know, being able to bring peace is usually by the guy who holds the bigger stick. you you really don't. You're really not in a place of. You're not in a position of authority unless you can command other people's respect, and we do that through our military prowess. So we do need to be the toughest kid on the block, not to be the bully, but we need to be the toughest kid on the block to tell everyone, hey, you guys need to break it up. Um, and then we can get into the question of whether we should be the world's police or not. There's arguments both for and against that, but um, I don't think our military industrial complex is too big. I think it's wasteful though. I think when the Pentagon can't can't undergo a successful audit, that's a problem. And ever since ever since the Pentagon has been required to do yearly audits, they haven't passed one of them. I think that's a huge problem. So I don't think it's that the military industrial complex is too large. I think it's too wasteful, and I think there needs to be more oversight. I hope that answers your question. Mark Ellie says, "Do you think the vaccine is part of the 6-6?" No, I'm not an anti-vaxxer, guys. I'm someone who's steeped in science, so I don't believe that vaccines hurt us. I think vaccines have saved a vast majority of humanity over the last 100 years, like starting with vaccines for like polio and tuberculosis and stuff like that. So that BSK says mRNA experimental, others as well. Research chances I don't meet a lot of black people in Japan, but their food is usually very good. I had a black friend and I went over for dinner. No idea what I ate, but it was amazing. You don't know what you ate? Ask your friend what it is. I'm sure he or she will tell you. But what part of Japan do you live in? Because when I was in Japan, well, when I was in Tokyo, I saw a lot of foreigners in Shibuya. I know a lot of foreigners go to Shibuya and Shinjuku, sorry, um, and other parts of Tokyo as well. Obviously, the Akibahara and um, Yokohama, those places. So I know there's plenty of foreigners um, in those places. Black people. It's not going to be a lot of black people, of course, in Tokyo, Japan. at least not outside of Okinawa, where a lot of them are stationed in the military. That's probably where you'll see probably the biggest amount of black people in Japan would be in Okinawa, stationed there in the military, because they usually have a lot of bars where they frequent. But yeah, depending on what part of Japan you live in, Risa. If you live outside of the Tokyo metro area, you probably wouldn't see very many black people. And all the Japanese people I met were very friendly. The women were very attractive. Um, so I had a blast. Can't wait to go back. I've actually heard uh, some Japanese people complaining there's too many foreigners, too many tourists in the country right now. Um, Kendall Joseph said, "Hi, I just arrived. What's up, Kendall?" Risa Chan is greeting other folks. Um, DDD 88888 says, "Yo." A bit of goat, cause you know, Kendall says he's from South Africa. What's up? We have another guy who sometimes pop drops in from South Africa to his YouTube handle is Son of Soweto. This guy Proshin is gone. Eric says, "Have you ever seen the latest trend in Japan of tourists making fool and asses of themselves to the point where the government have banned them from certain parts?" Oh, that's not new. It's just that now we can see it on video. Like there was this East African dude. I think he's actually American, but I'm not going to call him black. For reasons that I've explained in other videos, I don't consider black people who parents were not born of ancestors of of the who are the American descendants of slavery. If they're not those folks, people born in America before 1860, I don't consider them black. I consider them migrants, people from Africa, Caribbean, and Latin America. So he's one of these guys who's a tether. He was like some Ethiopian or Somalian guy. He went around doing prank. He was a prank influencer, and he was doing a whole bunch of stuff in Japan. He finally got banned from the country, which it was great because he was making a fool of himself. He was making Americans look bad, and by proxy, he was making black people look bad, even though we don't claim him. But whenever these, and I'm not trying to insult my African brothers on it, so guys, please don't feel insulted when I say this stuff. This is specifically talking about African migrants that come to America and then consider themselves above the black people in America, but at the same time they want to claim they're black when they get in trouble. So that's the same thing this guy did. He did all these little prank videos in Japan, um, picking on Japanese people who normally don't want to cause a scene. And till one guy he picked on actually stepped up to him. He wasn't Japanese though. I think he was actually a Korean guy visiting Japan, and I think he was a Korean American visiting Japan. He was about to body this this little lanky looking Somalian guy, and he started doing some other stuff. So he ended up getting banned from the country and got deported, and I salute that. And then I saw recently on a Facebook page that I followed, it was some white woman. Although I don't think she was American, I have an inkling that she was probably like European. But she was sitting there taking pictures of a geisha, and actually the woman was dressed. I don't think she was a geisha. I think she was a geisha apprentice, which is called a mako. I think. Risa, maybe you can clarify that for me, but I think they call it a mako, which is like a geisha apprentice because they have more like adornments than geishas do. And she actually obviously looked younger. And the lady was just trying to mind her business in Kyoto, and this white woman was literally like stalking her, getting in front of her, snapping pictures, and she was trying to get away from her. And I know I left a comment in that post saying this is why parts of Kyoto is off limit to foreigners because of bad behavior like that. Um, Arisa says, I live in Osaka, but I often travel to Kyoto to see my grandma, but I live in a more rural village of Osaka. I visit Tokyo and I saw many foreigners, obviously, because it's the capital, right? Of course. Not only that, but most Japanese people are flocking to Tokyo. Like, that's why the Japanese government has been trying to fund has been doing some things to like kind of give funding to the rural prefectures of Japan because most of the young people are moving away from the countryside and most of them want to move to Tokyo or Osaka. Um, they even trying to get people to buy up houses, including foreigners, in some of the rural prefectures. So yeah, of course, Tokyo Metro is going to have a place where you see a lot of foreigners. You'll see a lot of foreigners in Osaka too, because a lot of us are coming there because we want to do the, we want to try the street food. I've heard Osaka has a lot of great street food, so I definitely want to. When I come back to Japan, I'm going to go to Tokyo and Osaka, um, given I have enough time, and maybe Kyoto as well. Although I will be on my, I will, I will be a very well mannered uh, gaijin. I'm a well mannered gaijin when I come to Tokyo. I mean, when I come to Japan. So Eric Roker says geishas and red light districts and some historical sites. Well, don't confuse geishas with prostitutes. They're not the same thing. Geishas are entertainers that go back a long ways. That's not prostitution, and that's why a lot of foreigners are not allowed to go to the places where geishas perform because too many foreigners have the idea that geishas are prostitutes, and they are not. Geishas are perform, they sing, they dance, they they do the ceremony, they do the tea ceremonies and stuff like that. They they actually have these little games they used to play with. They will play with people, but for too many foreign men, their idea of a geisha is a prostitute, and it's not what they do. So that's why it's hard to book an appointment. It's hard to book an appointment to see geishas in Kyoto because too many foreigners have a bad idea of that. Like the women in red light districts, they may be dressed up as geisha, but they're not really geisha. Those are prostitutes. Like if you go to Roppongi in Tokyo, which is or Kabukicho, which are notorious red light districts in Tokyo, those women are not geisha. Those are prostitutes. Risa says, Tokyo is really bright. It wasn't what I was used to, but it was very pretty. No wonder why foreigners love it. And a lot of us love Tokyo just because, like me, I'm a nerd, Risa. So, I I grew up loving anime, loving martial arts, um, looking at, like seeing Japanese food and culture. So for a lot of Americans, they were brought up in like a certain space, like nerdy space, like with anime and just loving stuff coming out of Japan. Tokyo is like a dream come true. Like it was definitely on my wish list to come there. Risa says yes, Kyoto banned foreigners from visiting geisha from certain districts because they were harassing them. Exactly. That's exactly my point. Like I said, the thing that just came out last week when the white woman was sitting there following the Mako when she was just trying to walk down the street, and the lady literally jumped in front of her and kept snapping pictures, and the lady and the geisha or the Mako was trying to get away from her, and the lady just kept jumping in her way and snapping pictures, and people were just looking at this woman and saying, like it was other foreigners, in the video saying the nerve of this lady to bother this woman like that. So Christopher Payne said, I like some visual indication behind you that says what the topic is for the day. It was in the I literally put it in the title. I don't know if you saw it, Christopher, but I was saying today was just a celebration of Memorial Day and all things military related. That was the topic, which I hope people see. Eric says, yeah, very sad, Reese, especially with inflation you guys are having. Ban a few more trolls. Risa says, yeah, inflation is high and the tourists are higher both in visits and how much crack they are on. Wow. That's funny. Maiko, I'm sorry. I just got to your comment, Risa. Please allow me a little bit of grace because when I'm looking at the comment section, I'm always like a few minutes behind the current comments just so that I can catch all the comments so that I can either um, get rid of trolls or that I can answer people who make a comment to me or ask me a question. So I'm sorry I just got to where you corrected me, but it's Maiko. I'm sorry for mispronouncing it, so I'll say Maiko. Thank you. And yeah, I believe the woman whom I saw in that video was a Maiko, not a geisha. And most people don't know the difference, but again, the Maiko is a geisha apprentice. Sort of like the difference with Jedi. You have a Jedi Knight and you have a Padawan. So for those who are nerdy like me, you can think of it that way. A Maiko is the Padawan, the geisha is the Jedi Knight. Okay. So Risa says, yes, the Osaka station is very crowded during the summer. Yeah, I really want to go. You know, another city I want to go to, Risa, is Fukuoka. Well, before I was with someone, before I started dating, like 9 years ago, I ended up finding this Japanese girl online. I don't remember through what, probably one of the Facebook dating groups I was in at the time, or either through a dating app called OkCupid. Whichever one it was from, she was Japanese and she was from Fukuoka. Beautiful. And, she wanted me to come there. And at the time, at the time, I wasn't traveling. And because I never heard of the city, I had no interest in going. Now that I know more about Fukuoka, I wish I did go. But that's another city I like to check out as well. And tell me if, hopefully, I pronounced the city correctly, right? Fukuoka. Did I not ban this guy? And Eric says, I believe in Japan's case, immigration to bolster the economy is not the answer. Look what happened to Europe during the refugee crisis, influx of crime and resentment with the locals. Well, that's not what's happening there, Eric. Like, um, Japanese is unlike Europe, well, different countries in Europe. Japan is a very homogeneous um, culture, and that it's been some misreporting on the news saying that they're trying to bring in immigrants to boost the population. That's definitely not the case. What they are hoping for, though, is that Japanese people would they're trying to incentivize locals to have more children because they are just number two behind South Korea's has had the largest depopulation on the globe recently, and I think Japan is like right behind them. So they don't want to. They are trying to look to avoid what's going on with South Korea, and also China is having a huge depopulation. Of course, that's of their own doing. So that's I think China's problem is a little bit incongruous with what's going on in South Korea and Japan, because China's problem for why they aren't reproducing was because they had several generations of a one child policy. and and that, not to mention, they over 200 million female children were killed through infanticide, because during the one child policy, most families said, well, if they can only have one child, they wanted it to be a male child. And then some people who did end up keeping the second child would would basically abandon them to family members in the countryside where there was less accounting of such things. But that was part of it. And then once the economy start tanking, like no one had incentives to have kids. So they've now made it a three. They've now upped it to a three-child policy, but most people don't want to have children there, and that's completely because of the CCP's fault. Again, like I said yesterday, let me not talk too much about China because YouTube's algorithm does not like that. So let's get back to Japan. uh, Eric goes on to say America needs to remove trade tariffs and taxes from Japanese imports. I wasn't aware that they have that many. We don't. I don't think we have a lot of tariffs and taxes on Japanese imports as we do with, say, like, again, the country that I just mentioned, China, or some of our foreign adversaries. Japan is not considered a foreign adversary, so the our we have more free trade with them than we have with a lot of countries. But we have a lot of I won't say it's complete, but we have a lot of free trade with Japan. Ivy Serbic says hello. What's up, Ivy? Arisa says it's okay. A lot of people mispronounce Japanese things. I know, but I'm pedantic. I love saying things correctly in people's language. Like, because I used to work in a call center and I would talk to people from all over. One of the biggest icebreakers was when I pronounced their name correctly, and people would be like, "Oh my God, you're the first person that ever said my name correctly." I'm like, "Oh, thank you." And just because I took the time to pronounce their name correctly, they gave they gave me the chance to talk with them, which is a huge icebreaker when you're working in a call center and you're calling people over the phone whom you've never talked to before. Most people would just hang up on you, or they would be rude to you, or they would just tell you, "Hey, I'm not interested." But the fact that I can actually call someone and pronounce their name, and most people don't take the time to say their name correctly, was a huge icebreaker. So I always I always want to say things correctly just because I'm pedantic that way. So, like I said, I'm thankful that you corrected me on the pronunciation of Michael. She goes on to say, I understand being late on comments too. There's a lot of people and a lot of responses. Yep. She's Arisa says it's very nice, close to the water. And yes, you pronounced it right. Okay, good. So it is Fukuoka. Okay. Tank 8 says, what are you going on about, buddy? Well, nominally, this this live stream was to be about Memorial Day and all things military related, but we have some people from overseas, so I'm talking with them as well. So if you're from overseas as well, Tank, please, jump into the conversation. But or if you are prior service, if you want to talk about your military experiences or anything like that, or if you just want to talk about, hey, what you ate for Memorial Day, like, hey, we had some we had some hot dogs and burgers on the barbecue. Risa says recently people in America threw a fit calling one of our McDonald's ads propaganda because it showed a family eating food. Wait, how? And by the way, McDonald's in Japan is delicious. As a matter of fact, Risa, every country that I visit, excuse me, every country that I visit, I make a habit of going to the McDonald's because for folks who don't know, McDonald's caters to the local palate in every country. It The countries where they're allowed. There are some countries where they're no longer allowed, or or that for political reasons they don't want McDonald's there. So like, I have a friend in Uzbekistan. McDonald's isn't a lot of fast food chains are not allowed in Uzbekistan, but he told me Wendy's is there. But anyway, so you go to some of these places and they cater to the local food custom. So like, in India, you're not getting anything made of beef in McDonald's. When I'm in the Philippines, they serve, rice and fried chicken with gravy in McDonald's. Um, Thailand, they have some interesting stuff. And another thing I noticed is wherever all of them have chicken McNuggets, but they all have different sauces depending on what country you're in. So when I was in Taiwan, the only sauce they have for the McNuggets was of was the sweet and sour sauce. In the Philippines, the only sauce they have for their chicken McNuggets is barbecue sauce. So, like Japan has a very interesting menu in their McDonald's. So I implore anyone who goes to Japan to definitely check out McDonald's. And I don't know what people in America were mad about as far as a McDonald's ad. Like I don't know what propaganda they're talking about because they serve delicious food. I, I don't know. Americans get mad about everything. Lamimi's 209 says, well. Reese said, lots of kids my age are not looking forward to having children. I know. A lot of Japanese are not trying to have kids. That's why a lot of us Americans are going in and trying to give them some kids. Let me stop. One of the YouTubers, a guy named Dennis Sperling, he's an attorney. He's actually engaged to a woman from Dominican Republic that he met through another famous YouTuber who passed away named Kevin Samuels. He recently said on a podcast a week ago when he was talking about the rumors that Japan was looking for foreigners to help them, have more children, and he said he asked his fiance, he's like, hey, hey, you mind if I go over there for a few weeks and help them out a little bit? She said no. Uh, he said he was joking, but I think he was half serious. Like, if my wife said, "Hey, go help them out," yeah, I would do it. So, but no. All I will say is I don't know what the dating scene is between local Japanese people, but I know that when I've been there personally, that they do still like to be amicable with foreign men. I'll put it that way. They like to be amicable. There are some who go too far with it. The ones who are called gaijin hunters. Risa says, I remember when I lived in America, kids would mispronounce my name on purpose. I used to get called Risa. It, pe- People are rude here. Like, Risa, my real name is Aman, and my name is mispronounced. I've been called Arman, Alman, Muhammad, um, Ahmed, uh, every Oman, like everything but Aman. So Eric says, Teresa, don't try to make sense of American media. Exactly. And culture issues is pointless, just virtue signaling from a coddled generation that's obsessed about their feelings being hurt. Exactly. He's exactly right. Reese says, my friend told me about Memorial Day today, so I'll celebrate by drawing a little burger. Okay. You you should go to McDonald's and get a I think it's past Memorial Day over there since it's what time is it? I think it's like what 10 a.m. there. So it's already past Memorial Day, but you could celebrate by buying a burger at McDonald's or do they have Burger King there? That one I'm not sure of. I know they have KFC and McDonald's, and I know KFC is a big thing during Christmas. But I don't know if they have Burger King there. I just heard of McDonald's. Bonnie Bell says, unfortunately, lately it's an American pastime to be offended by something. Absolutely. And by the way, Bonnie, thanks for coming into the stream. But yeah, she's exactly right. Research says yes, we have shrimp nuggets here in Japan, but the ad showed a mom, a dad, and kid, and our population is declining. So that's it. This is baby propaganda. Oh, so you mean it was Japanese people who were? Was it Japanese people who were offended or Americans? Because why would Americans get offended about showing a nuclear family, which is a mom, dad, and a child? Like that's a nuclear family. Why would people? Why would that be offensive? That makes no sense. Like just like everyone else told you, Risa, like Eric said and like Bonnie said, only Americans could get mad at something that completely benign. Every city, yes, it's Tuesday as of now, right? It's Tuesday morning, 10:45 a.m. Okay. Burger Kings are more common in the popular areas, but they're still not allowed. Okay, well, at least there are some. Which one do you prefer? Roadrunner says, I don't have a welcome mat by my door because I'm not a liar. Huh? I don't get that comment. It's funny though, like you're not. I get what you're saying. You're not welcome. I'm at the. Um, I'll say this. I'm at the age where I can now look at young people and say, "Get off of my lawn." I'm young enough to look like from a distance. I look young enough to be a teenager from a distance, but I'm old enough to say, get off my lawn." So 46, Kendall. Lamimi's 2000. I'm sorry, 209 says McDonald's is bad. Same with all fast food restaurants. Why pay for food when you can grow it and eat healthy? Not just that, but water is free. The world gives us an abundance of life, but we have regulation because that's not practical. That's why not everyone has the ability to grow crops. For one, people don't have the space. Most people across the world don't live on arable land. Most people live in multi-family homes, and even if they did have places where they could grow crops, not every place has arable land. Like I said, where they do have space, and then on top of that, not everyone has interest in being a full-time farmer on top of their main job. Like that doesn't make any sense. And it's not a choice between farming and going to fast food. Most people go to markets to get their food. That doesn't really, like I said, make sense. It's like that's a very hippie way to think of things, and it's not very practical for like 90% of the world. And there's nothing wrong with eating fast food in moderation. It's only a problem when you eat it every day. So, uh, interestingly, the guy who created the docu the documentary Super Size Me recently died at the age of 53. Um, and part of his documentary was showing him eating nothing but McDonald's for 30 days. 3 days. I mean, three meals a day. And then the caveat is that anytime he was asked whether he'd like to supersize his meal, he couldn't decline it. He would say yes. The problem with that is it was just very disingenuous and forced. For one, no one's eating McDonald's 3 times a day every day. Two, he acts like a person doesn't have the mental fortitude to say no to being asked if they want to supersize their meal. And three, what he didn't talk about until 2 decades later after that movie came out was that he was a he was an alcoholic who had liver disease from his alcohol consumption, which is kind of what fed into him having such poor health at the end of his movie. He didn't talk about that until like 20 years later after that movie came out, and that's probably what led to his premature death last week at the age of 53. So Bonnie says, I know recently there was some type of boycott of McDonald's in the US. Not surprised. There's always going to be something or other. People always have problems with McDonald's, like whether it was the french fries being fried in beef tallow back in the day. Um, I remember back in the very early 90s, late 80s, people were boycotting them because they were saying they were buying meat that was beef that was raised on land that was taken from the Amazon rainforest. That was that. Um, then there was people saying they were going to boycott them because they weren't upfront about all their dietary ingredients and like how much calories people are consuming in their meals and all that stuff. So I don't. if you're that like if people are that worked up about McDonald's food, just don't eat there. It's that simple. No one's forcing you to eat at McDonald's, which is my whole point of why I thought the movie Super Size Me was ridiculous. If you think it's so unhealthy, just don't eat there. And for him to act like poor people only have the choice of McDonald's or starving was a complete that was a complete like false dilemma. So, which is like the same false dilemma like Mimas 209 is making, as if you have a choice between either growing your own food or only consuming fast food. As if there's not supermarkets in between that, or just regular wet markets, which the majority of the world goes to are wet markets to find their produce, or even just eating at sit down restaurants that are not uh, fast food. Like there's many different alternatives between being a farmer and consuming McDonald's. Risa says Americans were offended. They got mad at our government because they showcased an ad of a family eating fries. Apparently, babies aren't common anymore. Again, I hope your government does not take what a bunch of vocal Americans said on Twitter to be what the majority of America thinks. The majority of America could not care less. That's only a few vocal left-leaning idiots that would cause a stink because a McDonald's ad shows a happy family eating a meal, which is more common than not. Rowan says anxiety is wasting present energy on a future outcome that is undesirable to us. All right, you sound schizophrenic. That has nothing to do with the conversation, so I'm timing you out. Actually, no, I'm gonna just remove you because pointless. I can't, I can't deal with people coming up with schizophrenic conversations. Risa says I prefer McDonald's, but usually eat at home. What's your favorite meal at McDonald's? Is it the shrimp nuggets that you just mentioned? Because I think that's probably what you like. Uh, he's gone. Risa says, yeah, because shrimp nuggets are good. Grow me a shrimp nuggets tree if we're supposed to grow our own food. I haven't had those. I just eat chicken McNuggets. I'm not really into seafood. When I used to like shrimp, I probably would have ate the shrimp nuggets, but I'm not really into seafood anymore. So um, usually the meals that I get everywhere across the world, it'll be the same, but sometimes I'll buy local things. Like I'll buy stuff from the local meal. So like in the Philippines, I will definitely get the fried chicken and gravy with rice that they eat, because that's just such a common staple in the Philippines. Um, and it's delicious. It's actually better than KFC, and it's a rival to Popeyes. That's how great it is. Uh, but my staple, Risa, is a Big Mac and chicken McNuggets, fries, and a shake. That's what I pretty much get in every country I go to. Eric Rogan says I had a coworker whose family owned and operates a farm, and from what I've learned, you need equipment worth $2 million plus on land evaluated at $3 million, not including labor. Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. The what Lamimi's 209 was saying wasn't practical. Like saying that you shouldn't eat fast food. You should be raising your own. You should be raising your own crops. Who has time to do that? And even if you do have time to do that, who wants to do that? I don't. That's assuming I have the resources, the land, and the desire to do it. None of those I have. I don't have the desire to do it. I don't have the resources to do it, and I don't have the land to do it. And I've been even considering buying land in the Philippines, but even if I did, I wouldn't be growing stuff my own. I would literally hire someone else to do it. I'm not going to sit there and spend my days growing produce. Risa says, even when I did live in America, I only ate fast food twice a month. Exactly. Most individuals don't eat all their meals at fast food. That's why I don't know what that other user was talking about. That just doesn't make sense. Most people, the unhealthiest people I see in America actually live in the inner cities, because a lot of them, I've seen this myself from personal experience. Some of them will literally go to the the corner takeout store every day. They may not eat there like they may not eat there 3 days like 3 times a day, but I've literally seen people who would just go, from work to like the local deli or takeout or corner store every day in the city, and it's very unhealthy, like eating subs or eating deep fried foods every day for a meal. Very unhealthy. But again, outside of that, the average American eat does not eat fast food every day, because most of us don't have the money to anymore. Fast food is expensive now. Like, you can get a Big Mac meal now that can cost up to like $18, $18 US. Whereas for $18, I can buy like food that might last me um, a few days from the supermarket. What part of the U.S. did you live in, Risa? Bonnie says the beef tallow was the healthier option, and it was the tastier option. It tasted better when it was the beef tallow. The fries, like the funny thing is, when that happened, I was actually a vegan, and even I wasn't upset. I was just like, oh shit, oh well, I can't eat these anymore. But I wasn't ready to like put up a lawsuit against McDonald's because I was duped into eating fries. Of course, I knew there had to have been some sort of like animal grease that made it so delicious. It would have been even more delicious if they used bacon grease, to be honest. That would have been even tastier than beef tallow. Um, Risa Chan says, I'm pretty sure McDonald's is being boycotted for supporting Israel and not Palestine. That, yeah, that was an issue too. Tommy Colada says, I think education and laws against some fast food ingredients would help a lot. That could help. I mean, and we see in Europe there's much more restrictions than here with the U.S. agency, the FDA. The FDA doesn't do a good job of protecting people. Risa says, really, you can get everything McDonald's sells at a convenience store. I get bagged shrimp and cover it with soy sauce and sesame seeds. Yeah, I will say Japanese 7-Eleven has everything. Like, you can you can eat well at just going to the local 7-Eleven in Japan. It's off the chains. Bonnie says McDonald's in the Philippines sounds good. It is. It is. Like, you have all your regular American stuff there, but then they also have their local, like almost every fast food place in the Philippines serves fried chicken. So Burger King serves fried chicken, Wendy's serves fried chicken, McDonald's serves fried chicken, and it's not it's not like cheap. It's like good fried chicken. Um, and people in the Philippines like dipping their chicken in grease. Like, often what they'll do is they'll actually peel off the skin, put rice on it, and dip it in gravy and eat it that way. Um, I don't do that, but I've seen that's how locals will do it. They will like peel off the skin off the fried chicken and put some rice on it and dip it in gravy, then eat it that way with their hand. Then they'll just eat the meat separately. No diddy. But I've seen that. Same like within Indonesia and uh, Thailand. They have fried. I think they both had fried chicken at their McDonald's establishments. But it's delicious, and they have like local sandwiches in the Philippines, McDonald's, which are cheaper than the American sandwiches. So instead of paying like, like $5 for a Big Mac, there's like a one that's like worth $1 that is a local sandwich, since they make, the average Filipino makes far less than an American. So actually going to eat at McDonald's is considered a luxury over there, because it's way more expensive to a Filipino to go to McDonald's over there. So for a person, if they were taken to a date at McDonald's, it wouldn't be considered an insult there like it would be here. Reese says, I need to visit the Philippines. I want to try the dessert. Oh yeah, like the halo halo. You will like the halo halo. It's similar to that Japanese dessert. I forgot what they call it in Japan, but you will love the halo halo dessert there, Risa. And then it's like some street food desserts that you probably would like too. I think more the street food is more more common in like Cebu as opposed to Manila, where I would stay. La, La Mimi says, "I'm no hippie, simply stating what it is. You are calling people schizophrenic for having different opinions and point of view while you sit here talking damn near to yourself while you wait for someone. First of all, you're about to get banned from the channel. Number two, I'm saying someone's schizophrenic because I have a background in scientific psychology. That person who came onto the channel was here before and was talking about stuff that was completely bereft of what the actual topic was. And that person came back and did the same thing today. They not being able to have coherent thinking is a symptom of a schizotypal personality. Schizophrenia falls along a spectrum. So we have people who merely have schizotypical thoughts to a schizotypical personality disorder to mild schizophrenia to like full blown versions of schizophrenia, whether you're talking about disorganized schizophrenia, paranoid schizophrenia, um, catatonic schizophrenia, or the fourth type, which is a atypical schizophrenia. I know what I'm talking about when I'm talking about people who exhibit those sorts of behaviors because literally I have a background in what I'm talking about. And it's not because of a difference of opinion, it's because this live stream has a specific topic of which we were talking, and that person was talking about something completely irrelevant to that discussion. And you came here talking about something that you didn't know what the fuck you were talking about, so now you're feeling some sort of way about it. But the fact that what you said was fucking dumb. You're talking about people raising fucking produce as a way of eating when that's not practical for 90% of the globe's population. And the choice is not simply between having a farm and going to eat fast food. That's fucking dumb. So I'm not calling you schizotypical. I was calling the other person schizotypical. I'm just calling you stupid because you don't know what the fuck you're talking about. And because of that, you're going on timeout. Anywho, moving on. And the person said actually had to say I'm lazy at my young age. First of all, I'm in my 40s, and two, I run 10 kilometers every day. Not lazy. Not lazy. Tommy Colas says the most I've had fast food is once a week. Exactly. Most people don't eat fast food every day. So I don't know what that idiot was talking about, but he or she got timed out. Risa said go hug someone. She need to go. Risa, that Lamimi needs to go hug grass. That's what they. I don't know if they have that saying in Japan, but we tell people who spend too much time online or seems to have very incoherent thoughts. We tell them to go touch grass, which is a way of saying get outside, get some fresh air, kind of get back in touch with reality. I don't know if you guys have a similar saying to that. Reese's chances, even then once a week, isn't that bad depending on your moderation. Exactly. And on top of that, like if you're physically active, it's not going to hurt you. Like I said, the guy who recently died, Morgan Spurlock, who was the producer, director, and star of the movie Super Size Me back in uh, 2004 or 2003. Like I said, the reason why his documentary was so convincing was because as the extremes that he went to prove his point. Like he ate McDonald's 3 times a day for 30 days straight. He stopped doing any sort of exercise. He Anytime someone asked at the McDonald's if he wanted to supersize it, he always agreed. And he had he had already had a pre-existing health condition of liver disease from his because he was a because he abused alcohol. None of this stuff was disclosed when he first did the documentary, so he actually ended up costing McDonald's billions of dollars in you know in revenue because a lot of people thought that McDonald's was poisonous. And if you eat anything in too great of a portion, of course it's poisonous. Poison is all in the dosage. so so by McDonald's own calculations, someone who eats like McDonald's once a week is considered a heavy user of their a heavy consumption of their food. But even still, if someone is physically active daily and eats a well-rounded meal, then eating there once a week is not going to kill you. Recently, I lived in Las Vegas and Chicago. I only recently moved to Japan 3 years ago. Okay. I used to live in Chicago as a kid. Well, not in the city, but in the suburbs of Chicago in Crete, Illinois. No, Eric, Lamini Still Not was not okay. So I banned the person because they didn't know what they were talking about. And I love when people try to talk pop psychology to a person who actually has a degree in psychology. Like, no, most YouTube influencers and people on social media all think they know psychology and they really don't. And then they said I'm talking to myself and I'm literally responding to you guys, but I'm talking to myself. You could literally say that about anything social media. You're doing it with social media when you're like either messaging someone or video chatting with someone. This live stream is just a it's just video chatting with extra steps, right? That's basically what live streaming is. It's a video chat with extra steps. And I even said earlier when there was no one in the audience because I couldn't see the comments at first that if I didn't get any comments, I would just end it. But since there's been a conversation, of course I'm going to respond to folks. Bonnie says, I remember when I was younger, eating out at a fast food or a restaurant was actually a luxury and was considered expensive. I think we're there again in the US. Exactly. Like fast food has gotten expensive again. I think towards the 80s or 90s, fast food had got cheap enough that it was an alternative for a lot of folks that it might be something you might do once or twice a week, especially if you were, young and single, for like a married couple or older person, they probably didn't really eat too much fast food. But if you were, a young person or if you were single, then yeah, you probably ate um, fast food more often than other folks, which wasn't a problem because when you're in your 20s, you can get away with bad habits like that as opposed to someone who's in their 40s and 50s and never lifts a muscle. So, Risa said, yes, McDonald's was our lucky day when we would accomplish something like a test or cleaning in the neighborhood. Exactly. Or so for me, Risa, like when I was a kid, Pizza Hut. I think there's a Pizza Hut in Japan, by the way. I think. Tell me if not. But I remember like in the 80s and some other people told me even up until the early 90s, Pizza Hut used to have a personal pan pizza for kids for reading books. So they would give you like a checklist, and each book you read, you would put a star on the board, and every time you had up to 4 stars, I think it was four, either 4 or 6, you earned a free personal pan pizza. So I would go there with my chart showing the stars for each book I read. Of course, and courses was by the honor system. Your parents held the chart and would put the stars. So I'm pretty sure some people might have cheated, but I didn't. I literally read a book each time, and you put up those 4 stars. You go to Pizza Hut. You would give it to the people at the desk, and they would bring you a personal pan pizza. So I used to get a free personal pan pizza like almost every month because I read that much. Like I would read at least like 4 books a month so I could get my free personal pan pizza. So for me, that was an accomplishment. But McDonald's, a McDonald's was also like a treat. That's not something we got every week or every day. That might be something like on the weekend my parents didn't feel like making a meal, or like we went to the movies and so we had McDonald's with the movies, especially because my parents didn't want to, like a lot of parents here in America don't like paying for concession food in the movies because concession food in the movies costs more than food from a restaurant. So a lot of us would sneak in food from another restaurant to the movies, and usually that was McDonald's. Reese says, imagine getting cooked on YouTube live by an awesome dude. Oh, appreciate it. Thank you. There's a reason. Yes, I've seen people tell others to touch grass. We just ask them if they're okay. Yeah, actually, there's a Japanese YouTuber. I think her name is Hakuna something. I've seen her on Facebook, but she's also on Instagram. She's probably on TikTok too. She's funny. I guess she considers herself a comedian, and she'll always say, "In Japan, we don't say this, we say that," and it's always very funny, like how she does it. Like she'll say, like in America, you'll say, "Hey, I don't like that. Get that away from me." And she'll say in Japan, we just say, "Eh." It's really funny when she does that. Eric says, I can't run 10K, man. My best mile time in high school was 6 minutes, 20 seconds. Damn, I need to get my shit together. I didn't start that way because, someone else asked me that like 2 weeks ago. They was like, how you do 10K every day? They was like, did you just start doing that? I was like, no, I built up to it. Like, and I told them my process. Like, I first got in shape. I used to run track in high school, but years and years after high school, I wasn't running anymore. Um, so I just started running because I think I bought a Runner's World magazine, and it said how to develop as a beginning runner, and it showed how to just run for 21 minutes straight, where you just sort of like jog and walk until you build your stamina where you can run the full 21 minutes, and then after that I just progressed so that I could do like 2 minute. I mean, sorry, a 2 miles in under 20 minutes and stuff like that, which helped me once I got into the army because uh, at the time our standards were very high for men of a young age to complete their PT test, and part of it's a 2 mile run. 20 minutes would have been disqualification. That would have been a no go. So I usually got my run in under 15 minutes to pass my 2 mile run. Um, but after that, after I left the military, I still wanted to stay in shape, so I would do my 2 miles, but then I increased it gradually to 3 miles. Then a few years later to 4 miles. Then another year later to 5 miles, and then another year later to 6 miles, which is around 10 kilometers. So it took time. It's not something you're going to do overnight. I tell everyone just go out and jog. It don't matter how fast or how long. I tell my wife this. I say, if you don't have but 5 minutes, go out and jog every morning for at least 5 minutes, just to get your metabolism started for the day. And then that's the best, especially for people who are trying to lose weight or be healthy. The best time to do it is right when you wake up. It gives that metabolism a boost like that because of the thermogenic effects. Kendall says, "Carry on talking. I love you." Oh, I appreciate it. Pain Drop says most people know human psychology based on experience, but see that's the problem. Pain Drops, and thank you by the way for joining in. I don't think I've seen you on the live stream before, unless you had a different name. But yeah, the problem with people basing human psychology on personal experience or what we call anecdotal experiences, anecdotal or casual observation isn't a good way to be scientific minded. The difference between casual observation and scientific evidence is um, that science is more methodical, right? Which is putting it simply. Um, Psychology used to be a branch of philosophy up until maybe 120 years ago, maybe less. The fathers of scientific psychology were philosophers, and what separated is once they saw a research program at the time they called behaviorism with people like James Watts and some other folks that thought that the only way you could study psychology scientifically was to study direct behaviors and not worry about mental processes and stuff like that. That actually changed later on in the 60s with people like Noam Chomsky and philosopher Jerry Fodor, but for like a good 50 or 60 years of scientific psychology was just based on behaviorism, which is only directly studying people's direct behaviors of animals and humans. And the methodology out of that is still in psychology today, although now we do recognize that we can study mental processes and stuff like that. Excuse me, let me get some water, guys. Sorry. But even among psychologists, they have often joked and said that psychology is considered the Rodney Dangerfield of sciences, because there's still a lot of people who think that folk psychology is equal to scientific psychology. Folk psychology meaning folk beliefs and common sense beliefs about how the mind works and about people's behavior, which is often uh, debunked by scientific research. But I think, as some cognitive scientists agree, that scientific psychology does owe us an explanation of why sometimes folk psychology works so well. But it's often been called the Rodney Dangerfield of sciences, which, if some of you younger people may not know who Rodney Dangerfield is, he was this Jewish comedian who used to always say, "I get no respect, no respect." So that's why they joked and said that psychology is the Rodney Dangerfield of sciences, because it's the only science left today where people who have absolutely no background in it can talk about it in a way that they think they know what they're talking about, and and no one checks them on it. Like nowadays, you can't. No one would take someone seriously talking about physics who has no background in physics. Same with biology or chemistry or geology or astronomy, stuff like that. No one would take them serious. But psychology is still the only science left where people can still talk about it in a somewhat quasi serious way, and people would not laugh at them the way we laugh at people who talk about quantum mechanics and they've never taken a physics class in their life. Wouldn't be able to explain the laws of thermodynamics if it would save their life. We will laugh at people like that. But people who can talk about psychology, who've never taken a psychology class, who don't know the things like Thorndike's law of effect, the most basic law of psychology, or other things like that, they can be taken seriously. And we folks in our background, we are very dismissive of people like that. Sorry for that long rant. Risa says my pen pal lives in Chicago, and he says it isn't that cool anymore. A foreigner pushed him when he visited the Bean for an art field trip. Oh, Chicago is horrible, Risa. Like, if you lived in the city, you know how bad it is. It's even gotten bad that one of my best friends who live where I live in the suburbs of Chicago, like we live probably like an hour outside of Chicago, like right on the border of Indiana. He said all of those, like all of like the problematic people who used to live in like South Chicago, the south side of Chicago, had started moving into the suburbs and making it bad. Tommy Colada says my school showed my grade supersized me, and it's crazy to think that was a part of my education. They made a sequel to it too. 5 years ago, he made a sequel called Supersize Me Part 2, which was, this time he was going after the fast casual dining. So just like how he kind of dismantled McDonald's by talking about how unhealthy the food is, he dismantled the fast casual restaurants. When I talk about fast casual restaurants, I'm talking about Chipotle, Chick-fil-A, and like Five Guys, because these are considered like healthier options. He was showing, I think this was actually the better of the two documentaries that he made between part one and part two. He's done other documentaries outside of fast food as well, but between Super Size Me 1 and 2 was actually better, because there are so many people now that Chick-fil-A is healthy and it's not. Sorry guys, my connection just lost Uh, just glitched for a minute. Let me know if everyone's still here. I hope everyone's still here. But yeah, um, getting back to what Tommy Collada said, Super Size Me 2 that came out 5 years ago or 6 years ago was actually a better documentary. It showed how Chick-fil-A, um, Chipotle, Five Guys, all those places called fast casual, which are supposed to be healthier options than fast food like McDonald's and Burger King, are actually giving you the same exact food. It's just marketed in a way that makes it look more healthy. But for one, all those restaurants get their food from the same suppliers because the suppliers are have a monopoly on the meat industry. So all of them are getting their meat from all of them are getting their meat and poultry from the same companies. So there's nothing implicitly healthier about the food that they cook as opposed to Burger King and McDonald's. It's just marketed and packaged better. Two was the way they designed the restaurants make them give them a an ambiance that makes them look more sophisticated than McDonald's and Burger King. And three, I mean, let's think about it. Like, how is a fried chicken sandwich healthier because it's served here than served at another place? A fried chicken sandwich just isn't healthy, period. So to say that, oh, because I got this fried chicken sandwich from Chicken Filet, it's healthy, but if I get this fried chicken sandwich from Popeyes, then it's not healthy. They're both deep fried fat chicken. It's like they're both unhealthy equally. So I think Morgan Spurlock did a much better job talking about that than the way he handled it in the first documentary back in 2004. Bonnie says, I'm glad you brought up YouTubers diagnosing people because I'm sick of YouTubers diagnosing everybody as narcissists or gaslighting. Exactly, Bonnie. Like, too many people are using pop psychology terms and um, completely abusing those terms and plus people who are actually steeped in psychology are not going to armchair diagnose people. Like the guy who came on was displaying schizotypical personality, but I can't say whether that person was schizophrenic or whether they just had a schizotypical personality or whether they just had schizotypic tendencies. Those all fall within a spectrum, and I'm not able from my position to give an armchair diagnosis of such a person. And people who think that they can really don't know that psychopathology is not just a science; it's a bit of an art when it comes to being a diagnostician. Kevin B is gone. Paindrop says the original definition of gaslighting has changed to a vague word, meaning one feels offended. Exactly, Paindrop. It's just like the term toxic masculinity. That term is so misused, and I've actually brought this up in like some of my past videos if guys want to check it out. But toxic masculinity comes from the original concept hypermasculinity. Hypermasculinity was the definition of males raised in a fatherless society where they were brought up by single mothers whom they rejected their the behavior of the women who brought them up. So they overreacted by taking on very aggressive and violent tendencies. And you see this in a lot of fatherless communities, whether you're talking about here in American ghettos or overseas in war torn societies or in very impoverished places in places like Africa and Latin America. You see this sort of bravado, which is because was conceptualized as hypermasculinity. It has nothing to do with what people now call toxic masculinity, which is basically a way of shaming men for having characteristic male behaviors. Hypermasculinity or toxic masculinity was a concept specifically defined to talk about young men who grew up in fatherless communities who grew up to become very hyper violent and aggressive. Risa says most fast food places in America are in Japan, but they're more so common in big cities like Tokyo, Shibuya, and Osaka Station. Yeah, I figured that they're not gonna be. I don't. I don't picture like going out to to like the Iga prefecture and going to KFC. Although that would be awesome if they did, because I do want to go to the Iga prefecture because there's a ninja museum out there, and I remember a long time ago my friend had showed me that the ninja museum was actually hiring actors and martial artists, and he was like, "Oh, here's your chance." I'm like, "Nah." I was like, "That'd be awesome," but I don't think I would. I don't know if I would qualify. Like, I'm not an acrobat. I mean, I know martial arts pretty well, but I was like, I don't think I would qualify to work at the Ninja Museum in Iga Prefecture. Risa said, yes, the Japanese language is full of E's and it just depends on the tone. E can mean I see, but it can also mean what the F. Right, right. Michael Mork says, bro, you got some. All right, you are gone. Kendall says, Michael Mork, what are you talking about? Don't, guys, there's trolls. Like I said, this Memorial Day, so I'm kicking them out. If a troll doesn't have anything positive to say, because like I said, this is my day of celebrating the fallen heroes. These are the folks that didn't come home, the people who are much better soldiers than I ever was, who gave the ultimate sacrifice. So I'm here to celebrate them in all regalia. So if they don't have anything nice to say in this chat, then they're banned from the channel. Eric Roker says social media has been the largest psychological experiment upon the unsuspecting generations. Yeah, literally. Like there's there's that that cheesy show called What Would You Do with that fat Latino guy. I can't remember his name who hosted, but I remember when that show came out, like psychology professors saying they get to do stuff on that show. What would you do that we could never be? That they wouldn't okay us doing. Like most IRBs or these are internal review boards that professors have to go up to approve get different experiments done or research done on in academic environments. He was saying like a lot of you know a lot of academic review boards wouldn't okay some of the stuff that they're allowed to do in like on like TV, like the show What Would You Do, or like some of the stuff they do on social media. There's actually a lot of nowadays a lot of grad students who collect data from social media. Oh, Risa getting spicy. I'm allowing it. I'm allow that I'm allow that comment. Bonnie says my dad grew up in the south side of Chicago and he left 1959. Wow. I'm assuming in 1959 south side of Chicago wasn't like it was in the 80s and 90s. I'm assuming. I mean, I know south side of Chicago was never like the happiest place, but I have if it's anything like people talk about here in the Northeast with like Baltimore, I've heard my parents say, like back in the 50s and 60s, Baltimore was like a really nice place, and now it's a hellscape. Like you go to some of the worst areas in Baltimore now, and my parents would be like, "Man, I remember when I was little, this place was so clean. People used to come out on the weekends and wash down the stoop because everyone wanted their stoop to look shining clean." I was like, well, sure isn't like that now. King Tuffer says hi. What's up, King Tuffer? We used to say I lived in the suburbs with my aunt, but I often stayed in the city with my uncle. Okay, so do you know where University Park is or Park Forest? That's where I used to live, in Crete, Illinois. Those are the three places I live: University Park, Park Forest, and Crete. I used to go to Crete Monet Junior High School before I ended up moving back to the Northeast. Um, so yeah, and then the elementary high school, I went to Talala Elementary and Black Hawk Elementary. Mercanoid Peanut Butter's back. He says thoughts on Disney making Kermit the Frog and Miss Piggy and a bisexual pilot and Maris Racing. Why do you keep bringing up such random stuff? This is Memorial Day, buddy. and they are not in any sort of bisexual polyamorous relationship. That's not as much problems as I have with Disney on how they messed up their IPs they bought from other places, and we did a whole live stream on that. So today is not the day for that. The day for discussing how Disney messed up our favorite things was 3 days ago. But yeah, that has neither nothing to talk. That has nothing to do with what we're talking about today, my friend. And plus, that's just simply not true. I've never seen Kermit and Piggy in a polyamorous relationship. Risa says, I stayed in Orland Park for most of the seasons, and I lived in Uptown in the summer. Okay. Uh, Risa also says Kyoto is more of a traditional area, but they still have fast food for the foreigners. Okay. I mean, I'll eat traditional food. The only thing I don't really like is seafood. So I had a college buddy, um, a frat brother who was living out there, and because before I started traveling, uh, en route to going to Philippines, I was going to drop by Japan, because I like doing layovers, but I will make my layover an entire trip in itself. Plus, it makes my flights cheaper. By this is uh, a tip for some of you guys. If you have the time that you can travel for longer than like a few weeks, consider layovers and making a layover over like a day or so long, get you a chance to actually relax in between your flights, and that layover can be turned into a trip in itself. So I asked them like, hey, so if I hang out in Japan, I was like, will I be able to find food that's not seafood? And my friend was like, yeah, man. He said you can find anything in Tokyo. I was like, oh wow, okay, which was true because the chef, what's the guy's name? The guy who ended his own life but used to be a big famous chef. He used to be on CNN, and he had a whole show about exploring different parts of the world and trying food. And he said that Tokyo was his favorite city for food, that he could literally find any food in the world that he wanted in Tokyo. And he was right, because you can find anything in Tokyo. So I not liking seafood wasn't a problem, because I could literally go to places and never have to eat seafood if I don't want to. So CJ Johnson says, play the Pacific main theme today in honor. I actually no, I watched the whole series last year. It was great. I watched because I had never seen it. I had only heard of the other movie. What was the other movie that was also by Tom Hanks and Steven Spielberg? So the Pacific was sort of like a spin-off off of that. I watched both of them. I binge watched both of them last year on Netflix. And I think the Pacific was better than the other show, because the first show was about army army airborne soldiers in World War II, and the Pacific was about um, marine infantry soldiers in in the Pacific, arena. But both were great series, and I binge watched them both, because when I saw in the Pacific it was using John Berthal from The Punisher and Walking Dead. I was like, oh yeah, I gotta watch this. Unfortunately, he died in the beginning of the series, but um, I liked it. Bushy Brow says, can you do an impression of LeBron James getting tickled in the belly button? What? Bushy Brow says, Southside Chicago is dangerous. I know. I definitely know that. Even after they shut down Cabrini Green back in like the early 2000s, it still hasn't made that region any less violent after they shut down that projects, overrun with immoral humans voided of their humanity. It, yeah, it's. I mean, Thomas Sowell had described exactly what had befouled many of the American inner cities, was bringing black redneck culture into the inner cities. I think Thomas Sowell was completely right about that. Eric Roker says, as a veteran, do you own any guns? If so, what's your favorite? I don't currently own any. Actually, I did. I remember doing a YouTube short several months ago when I was actually asking a bunch of um, gun owners what would be a good first time handgun for me for my bug out bag, and I got a lot of people gave me a lot of options, but most people said, here's a good option, here's another good option, but go to the range and try out a bunch of different handguns for yourself. And so I haven't went to the range to try out a bunch of different handguns, but I did decide that for my bug out bag, I'm gonna just get a Glock 19 because that's like the simplest thing to have like for my bug out bag. As far as for home defense, I'm probably just gonna get like a semi-automatic shotgun because that's a good home defense weapon. And you can get buckshot so it doesn't over penetrate between walls and stuff like that. Um, but I'm probably gonna wait to get like the gun for home defense once I go back overseas. I'm just gonna get a weapon right now for my bug out bag, but I'm not gonna buy a bunch of weapons here. I'm gonna wait till I go back to the Philippines and get them. And I'm thinking of like a semi-automatic shotgun. I don't have a particular brand yet. Um, and probably a snub nose revolver because I've always wanted one of those when I was a kid. And maybe some sort of AR or carbine rifle of some sort. But I'm not gonna. I'm gonna hold off onto those purchases until I get back overseas because there's no point in buying stuff like that and I can't bring it with me. Whereas with the Glock 19 for my bug out bag, I don't care if I can't bring that with me. I can simply give that to someone and I'll just buy a used Glock 19. I'm not buying a brand new one because it's only for my bug out bag. And I can take that to the range and practice with it. And at the range, I can practice with any sort of weapons they have available for um, for customers. So I don't have any on me right now. But if I did, I'm not going to show it on video because I've heard that's a quick way that YouTube will demonetize people if they show firearms on their videos. Risa says, no, I don't know where those are. I didn't really bother with learning about where I lived. I don't blame. I mean, I only knew about the places I live as well. I really didn't know too much else about Illinois outside of where I live. Like I said, I used to go to Lincoln Mall before that closed. I heard Lincoln Mall got shut down. Well, first I heard it was like a ghost mall, and then they ended up just closing it. If you heard of Lincoln Mall, Risa, then I used to go to Park Forest Mall, which was like an outside. It was like an outdoors mall, which was really cool back in the day. Mind you, I haven't lived there since 1990, so that's been a very long time ago. Um, and I'm trying to think if I've been to any other malls out there. No, I think just Lincoln Mall. No, there was another mall I went to out there as well, but I can't remember. But it was mostly Lincoln Mall that I would go to or Park Forest Mall. Mercanoid Peanut Butter says they had a TV show called The Muppets about 10 years ago where the Miss Piggy started dating another female pig while still in a, really? So I remember they did a show. So they did a new show about the Muppets that aired on ABC, and it was supposed to be like it was supposed to they basically made it like The Office. You know how like they do The Office like this like they're filming a documentary. So they made a Muppet show. They were supposed to like kind of mimic The Office. I remember that was the latest TV show they did, and it wasn't really good, so it ended up getting canceled after one season. If you're talking about that one, I don't remember her dating another pig. I remember her and Miss Pig. I remember her and Kermit breaking up, and then Kermit was dating other people, but they were broken up. Like they weren't still in a relationship, but they still liked each other. But they weren't like in a relationship. And I think towards the end of the season, when I stopped watching, they got back together. But if she started dating a female pig, that was probably after I stopped watching the show. But I remember because it's on Disney Plus right now. That was the latest Muppet show where it was supposed to be like um, mimicking the style of The Office. Anthony Bourdain, that's right, Bonnie. I like the Anthony Bourdain show a lot. I was really shocked when he offed himself, but I can't say I'm surprised because I've dealt with clinical depression as well, And what most people don't understand about people with clinical depression are they're the least likely to seem sad in front of other people. That's why people were so surprised when Robin Williams deleted himself, because he always seems so happy and go lucky. But people who suffer from clinical depression don't want people knowing how miserable they are. So the people who are the ones often smiling the hardest, often the ones going through the most pain in private. Which is why, and this being um, Memorial Day, check on your friends who are veterans. That's all I'll say. Check on your friends who are veterans, because a lot of them have gone through stuff you won't know about. They don't, a lot of stuff they won't talk about to people who've never experienced what they went through. If you have friends who are veterans, check up on them. Malcolm Rita said she was a felt pig. If I was a felt pig, I'd date her too. So I missed that. So I guess so. I guess that really did happen on the show. I'm going to allow that. I don't know why that was blocked, but anyway. Eric Roper says to Mercanoid peanut butter. I remember it was nationally hated. I spent years trying to purge it from my memory and washing away the tag. So I'm the only one that didn't catch that. Like I said, I only got like 3 or 4 episodes into that series, and then I stopped watching it. I got to the point where Kermit and Piggy had broke up. Kermit was now dating other people, but they were still trying to do like a TV show together. And I, and like I said, by the third or fourth episode, I just stopped watching it. I couldn't make it through because it was just like boring and not really funny. Eric the Guapo says revolvers and lever actions are my favorite. Yeah, I just want to like a, cause when I was little, like like every '80s action movie, like the cop had like a snub nose revolver, and then like you could go to like any toy store or to like the little toy section of like a supermarket or dollar store or whatever, and they would have like the cap gun revolvers, and I had one, and I used to buy them, so I always liked those. But now I think I wouldn't like nowadays. I wouldn't keep that as like my concealed carry. Like if being a veteran, I can get a concealed carry in Maryland pretty easily. Like I don't have to go through like the classes and all that sort of stuff. Um, like I literally just have to apply for it and I can get it. But like I said, the only reason I haven't is just because I don't plan on being here that long where I would need it. But Baltimore has become so violent that I have considered getting my concealed carry permit. But the snub nose revolver wouldn't be a good concealed carry for me. That's why I said there would be like an auxiliary weapon, like for a for like a practical like concealed carry. It had to be something. It would have to be a semi-automatic pistol, not a revolver. Like I said, one of the smaller Glock 19, or maybe a 6 hour, or um, something like that. Something that would be small enough to do a good appendix carry without it bulging into my crotch. Reese says my favorite gun is the pretty pink one with a bow. Eric Guapo says I have a Smith and Wesson 650 10 millimeter, which is very fun to shoot, and a Marlin 357 Magnum, and 38 and a 38 special lever action rifle. Okay. Do you go? So do you go to the range with those? I also have an AR-15 300 AAC Blackout, but it's very hard getting ammo for that out here in Cali. I wish I never bought it. I no, the problem is being in Cali. I think Cali has some of the most restrictive laws outside of Maryland. Maryland has some of the most restrictive rules on handguns, and obviously it don't work because Baltimore is one of the most violent cities in the country and in the world. I actually had to prove that to my friend yesterday. He didn't believe me. He thought I was exaggerating about how bad Baltimore is because he knows I don't like the city. And I was like, dude, I was like, not only is I was like, I don't care what Mayor Brandon Scott says in Baltimore about the the crime rates going down. I was like, it doesn't help. I was like, put it this way. I said, if 10 people got, if like long time ago only like 10 people used to get killed, but now it went up to 25 people getting killed. But now it went down to 20 people getting killed, and then the mayor saying, "Well, hey, look, now only 20 people are getting killed instead of 25. That's still way too damn high from the point where it used to only be 10 people, right?" And he was like, "Yeah, I get." So he was like, "Yeah, I get your point." And so he actually looked up the the federal statistics on the website Statista, and it showed, we're in the like top 10. Like Baltimore has always usually been in the top 10 for homicide capitals within the country, but he was more surprised to find out that across the world we're in the top 20. Like I think Baltimore made number 15 or number 16 in the most violent cities in the world. So that's why I always laugh when people say, "Man, you always traveling." It's like, you better be safe overseas. I was like, dude, I'm literally safer almost everywhere across the world than I am in Baltimore. And the statistics bear that out. Because one thing about having a background in psychology is you have to be good in behavioral statistics. So I know my stats. And I would say you shouldn't regret buying that weapon, Eric. I would just say it's being in California is regrettable because you're not going to be able to do what you want to do with that weapon the way you could, say, if you lived in, say, Texas or Utah, places like that, freer states. Eric Roca says, I was thinking about getting a Tech 9. I just have a fetish for the P90. They don't make Tech 9s anymore. This is not the 90s. they, um, the Tech 9 got so, because Tech 9s were used so much by criminals in Hollywood movies back in like the 80s and 90s, the company that makes them discontinued it. There is a there is a semi-automatic weapon they make that's almost indistinguishable from the Tech 9 was back in the 90s, but it's not called a Tech 9. And so I forgot what that newer weapon is called, but they don't make Tech 9s now. The only way you would get a Tech 9 is like on the black market. Risa says Ford City is completely empty now, and apparently my pen pal sent me pictures, and the entire mall is dark except for a few shops sprinkled around. Yeah, sounds like what happened to Lincoln Mall became a a ghost mall. By the way, um, when you get a chance, check out my socials, Risa, and everyone else as well. You guys, if you want to ever have a conversation with me, outside of here, you can reach me on my socials. I put my Facebook and Instagram on there, and I have my email, so you can reach out to me. So I know I've gotten a few questions from overseas friends that want to know when I can. That have asked me if I plan on traveling to where they are. So if any of you guys overseas and you want to know if I'm traveling to your destination, just you can reach out to me via email or my Facebook or my Instagram, just in my socials, in my description, and I will respond to them. Okay. Um, because yeah, I am planning on coming back to Japan, and being the Risa lives in Osaka, I definitely could use someone as a tour guide there. Um, my my one of my friends might come with me. I don't know. He just visited Tokyo like 4 months ago, and he said he has to be come back to Japan. He wants to go to Osaka as well, but I do want to visit Osaka. So if you or if you know someone that would be available, Risa, like definitely reach out to me so I can make some plans. Because like I said, I want to go to Osaka because I know about the street foods and stuff like that I really want to try out. I have a few guys in parts of Africa that reached out to me, Sana Soweto, and someone from Nigeria who's reached out to me. I don't think they're in the chat room today, but when they come back on the live stream, I'll let them know as well. But Risa, if you're interested, um, you can reach out to me once you leave the live stream. My link will be in the description, guys. Also, and if anyone wants to tip me, um, my Cash App is in the is in my links. Cash App, Venmo, or you can buy me a coffee. Someone bought me a coffee last week, so I actually did drink iced coffee during the live stream to show my appreciation for it. But I definitely would like to reach out to folks who live overseas, because wherever I visit, I always like to have a friend that actually lives in that country, because I think that's the better way of appreciating another country when you visit there, is actually to establish links with people who live there. Bonnie says I have a bug out bag too. Okay. My dad told me be prepared before he passed a couple of years ago. I think your dad was a great man, Bonnie, and he's completely right. FEMA actually, I've said this in other live streams. FEMA actually recommends that everyone have a bug out bag for natural disasters. Most people only think of bug out bags when they think of doomsday preppers from that Nat Geo show that came out was it like 13 years ago now? And Doomsday Prepper showed the most extreme people, where most preppers today aren't worried about weird things like alien invasions and Russia Russia coming and taking over the United States. Most bugging out isn't a common thing for people who live in places that may be subject to like either wildfires or floods. Those are the most common reasons that people might have to bug out of a from a location. So it's always good to have a bug out bag. And I will be doing a video of all my contents in my video. I'm just not sure whether I want to do it as a live stream or as a pre-recorded video. But you guys can tell me what you prefer. If when I do my bug out bag, do you guys want to see it as a live stream, or would you like me to just do it as a pre-recorded video that you can view? I'll do either one. So, Bonnie Bell said the Muppets had the best series in the 70s and 80s. Yeah, I watched the original Muppet show. Especially, I think the most favorite episode was the one where Mark Hamill appeared as Luke Skywalker, and Miss Piggy was fawning all over him. That's like my favorite episode from the Muppets back in the 70s. And the original Muppet Show is on Disney Channel because, uh, Disney bought out the Muppet franchise, but they didn't buy out of all of Jim Henson's IPs. So they bought the Muppets from him, but the Jim Henson Show remained with his son Brian Henson, and they still make stuff like the Dark Crystal series that came on Netflix based off the '80s movie that was made by the Jim Henson Creature Show. Um, I think they're still doing. I think they're planning on doing a sequel to the Labyrinth that people may know about when David Bowie was the zany bad guy. So, Matamoro says, "Hello, sir. Long time no see." I do remember you. Yes, I do. So I need your advice, please. How do you get rid of? Oh, come on, man. You kept asking me about that last time, and I'm like, that's not that's not something I talk about, bro. Like, I can't tell you how to take care of like basic hygiene. And I think you're a troll, or you could just be someone reaching out for help. But what I am going to do, because I don't know whether you're being sincere or not, is just time you out. Eric Roca says Chicago is now basically the cyberpunk game night city without the charm and charisma. And I was telling someone else last week when they was like, man, Chicago's the worst. And I was like, man, Baltimore is worse. He was like, no, Chicago's worse. And I'm like, no, I'm not. I was like, I'm not trying to pair. I was like, I'm not trying to compare apples to oranges here, but I would just say that Baltimore is more violent because one, you look at the federal crime statistics, we are rated higher as a homicide city per capita than Chicago is. Plus, Chicago has twice the population size that Baltimore has. Baltimore has a population size of about 600,000 people. So when you look at it, so when you look at murders per capita, Baltimore is more violent because that means there's much more violence concentrated in a smaller population of people and a smaller geographical city than Chicago. That makes it more dangerous. Eric DeGuapo says, I don't go to the range. I go out in the middle of the desert and start blasting up. Like, that's even better. It was an episode of Doomsday Preppers where the guy was showing his sons how to shoot weapons, in case they got a buck prepare for the worst, right? For some sort of economic financial crisis. This dummy put his thumb over the uh, over the barrel and shot part of his thumb off, and was sitting there on camera like, oh, it fainted. He fainted on the show. I laughed so hard, and I was like, this is so typical of all these doomsday preppers. And what I always tell people who are preppers or survivalists is that the first thing you should be doing as a survivalist or a prepper is staying in physical shape. If you're not physically fit, then all this other prepping makes no sense because you're not going to survive if you're not physically fit. And two, if you're going to learn how to use weapons and do all that sort of stuff, get professional instruction. Like, there's the fact that he was stupid enough to blow off part of his thumb because he put his thumb on a barrel while shooting a rifle. I'm like, what kind of idiot is this? And like they were out in the desert, instead of on a range, which I don't have a problem with, but it's obvious that he hadn't had much professional instruction. That he was stupid enough to put his thumb over the barrel of the gun. Yeah, Mercanoid Peanut Butter, that he got timed out. Like he was back before, and like I said, I can't tell if he's just being a troll or if he's just disingenuously. I mean, sorry, if he's just genuinely searching for help online and is socially awkward, because you get a lot of people like that too. Some people aren't trolls. Some people are just actually socially awkward and don't know how to relate to people other than actually looking for a call for help from online, which happens. It's sad, but I had to time him out because it's irrelevant. Like I said, I'm not sure the person is a troll. I think he actually needs psychological assistance. Risa said, Metamora, so you cheating on me? I'm supposed to be your sugar daddy. And my heart breaks. Finding out Risa is kind of spicy, guys. Yeah, Mercanoid Peanut Butter says the entire message was out of pocket. It was completely. But like I said, I think that person is actually sometimes what looks like trolling is people actually reaching out for help and they just really don't know how to do it. It could be either or, but either way, that person got timed out. Eric the Guapo says he's just a troll. Um, Risa says he's trying to troll. He probably, like I said, he was here before. I timed him out. If he comes back and says that, I'm just gonna ban him permanently. Risa says, okay, I'll send you 5 cents and a half use Subway gift card. Hey, I'll take the Subway gift card all day. $5 foot long. Diddy better get ready for that $5 foot long too. Let me stop. But actually, he might. What I'm talking about, Diddy would love a five daddy. Oh, never mind. But oh, stop. Oh, okay. So he sent more messages. I didn't see these guys. See, remember I said I'm always like a few minutes behind in the comments. So yeah, he was trolling. I still think he does need psychological help, but either way, he will be hidden from the channel. Uh, Eric Roca says there's a way to turn buckshot rounds into slugs by pouring wax into it. Pro tip. Well, actually, I don't want the slugs. Like if I do get the semi-automatic shotgun, I don't want slugs. I would just get like the buckshot and the bird shot. Like Dave Chappelle said. He said one of his white friends told him. He said just get a shotgun. He said you get the bird shot, just peppers them up real nicely, and then you hit them with the buckshot. So he's like first bird shot, then buckshot, then bird shot, then buckshot, then bird shot, then buckshot, 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 buckshot. But no, I don't want the slugs because they penetrate through walls. So I actually don't want those. As this is a townhome residence, so I don't want them shooting through the walls to the neighbors. And my house in the Philippines is also a townhome, so I don't want penetrative slugs for that sort of weapon, for at least for home defense. Like I might get an AR rifle, but I probably wouldn't be planning on using that for like home defense. That would just be for like my own personal collection, as with the snub nose revolver be. like I said, the primary home defense weapon would be the shotgun. So I would just rely mostly on buckshot. Um, and then I would probably buy a new Glock 19 once I get out there, and because I'll still bring my bug out bag. I'm just gonna leave the weapon here and give it to one of my friends or something, and then I'll bring my bug out there and just buy a new Glock 19 there. Risa says there's nothing like listening to guys talk about guns and their future plans. I have no idea what the difference between the AK-47 and a sniper is. Sniper. Well, so a sniper is a person who shoots the guns at people from a distance. So AK-47 is a Soviet style semi-automatic rifle. Risa. I remember when I was in the army, most of my drill sergeants said the AK-47 was better than our M16, which is not exactly true, but kind of true. The reason why AK-47s, as opposed to M16, which is also um, it's a type of it's a type of AR carbine rifle, is that so the AR 40, excuse me, the AK-47 supposedly never jams, and you can shoot it underwater, which you cannot do with M16. The M16 was very prone to jamming, which was always a constant problem when we went to the range. Especially because it was a problem on the range because we used to fire at pop-up targets. So when the weapon jammed, mess up your it would mess up your accuracy because you got to hit these pop-up targets within a certain amount of seconds of them popping up, which would mimic you actually, shooting down live targets who come at you. You only have a few moments to respond before that person shoots you or they, leave. But in any case, there's literally thousands of gun models, gun types, and I am not a gun expert by any means. I will go to the range and people will talk about guns the way I talk about Star Wars or the way I talk about martial arts, which is two things I know way more about than when it comes to weaponry. Like the only basic weaponry I learned were the basic weapons that we learned in like basic training, stuff like that, and some of the weapons I played with here on the civilian side with my friends going to the range. But I'm not really an expert on that. I'm pretty sure Eric is a much more expert person on that than I am. Reese says, "Shut up. We talking about pew pews in Japan." So I'm learning the area in Osaka so I can become a tour guide. Oh, really? Okay. But I'm too young for a job right now. LOL, the Osaka station is busy, so I recommend being in the outer lands of the big cities. Okay. So the fact that you are actually learning to be a tour guide, that would be great. Like I said, after the live stream, please send if you see my email, you can see my Facebook in the description. Reach me from there so we can reach out because the fact that that's where you live, already more than I do. Like usually every city I go to, I either have a tour guide or I have to do like a lot of research before I go so I know what to do when I go there. Because that was a problem when I went to Thailand was I had to do like a lot of my own research because we didn't know what to do when we got there. Because I love Nerf handguns. I haven't seen those that much anymore, like I used to. They used to be big back in the day. Like a lot of us now like the Nerf, like there was like the big Nerf rifles now. I have a friend that actually he might still make them, but he used to customize the Nerf guns for people who wanted them, which was pretty cool. Mercanoid Peanut Butter says his Monroe's been to the Diddy Mansion. Which one? He has three of them that got raided. Yeah, Eric. All they can say is either something along the lines of something homophobic or something racist, and it's like it's not even funny. Like when I saw the first comment, like I saw it from a few days ago, I thought he was just someone genuinely reaching out for help because he was like socially awkward. Then I realized no, he's just a troll. But that's after he had already posted a bunch of nonsense. Like Jacksonville kid said, any search engine there are hundreds of suggestions of hygiene. Yeah, he wasn't being genuine, Jacksonville kid. I thought he was, but no, he was just being a troll. Igor is back. What's up, Igor? Happy Memorial Day, soldier. Well, happy Memorial Day to you, Marine. So this is a holiday, and I hope you had a wonderful weekend. I did. Definitely, we did some stuff on the grill. Went to the gym yesterday. I was supposed to go today, but you know, I was being lazy because it's leg day. Didn't really feel like doing leg day because it was so hot. Then it was a thunderstorm, so I just ran. Um, but I can make up for that like tomorrow. Mercanoid Peanut Butter says Chicago is just considered the most violent because people who have never been somewhere like that, who live in the suburbs, watch all these all these black drill rappers making that stuff trendy. Yeah, I mean, same thing about Baltimore. Like 20 years ago, everyone was talking about Baltimore because of the show The Wire on HBO, right? And what we were telling people was The Wire was actually pretty accurate. To be honest, The Wire was pretty freaking accurate. Like they even had a mayor that resembled Cheryl Dixon, who just reran for mayor again just a month ago against Brandon Scott. She was kicked out of office back in the early 2000s for embezzlement and has ran for office again like at least four more times and lost each single time. But she keeps running for office even though she was kicked out for embezzlement. She was the mayor at the end of the season of The Wire that they were alluding to, the black female mayor, but they didn't use her real name. And she's also related to Juan Dixon, the famous Terp basketball player who went on to the NBA, Juan Dixon. She is his aunt, I think. I think she's the aunt of Juan Dixon. So if you guys know the 2002 NCAA championships when University of Maryland won, that was one, all those people back then, like Juan Dixon, were part of that. And then he went on to the NBA, had a somewhat good career. Eric Rose says, "This is my rifle. There are many like it, but this one is mine. Without my rifle, I'm useless. Without my rifle, my rifle is without me. My rifle is useless. This is for fight, and this is for fun." Igor says, "Eric Rogan, this is old U.S. Marine thing. We all used to say in Marine Corps." Eric Rogan says, "I salute you, soldier." Oh, don't Eric, don't call Marine soldier. Call them Marines. Don't call them soldiers. They that's an insult to them. Bonnie says my grandpa used to use buckshots. He had businessmen trying to buy his land, but would get tired of them and aim. Damn, I'm like your grandfather. The more you talk about him, the more I like this guy. Pokeman says hello everybody. What's up, Pokeman? Igor says I own an AR-15 tactical and AK-74 tactical new gun. AK is a better gun. That's what I've heard as well. I can confirm we dumped out standard AR rifles in Iraq and Afghanistan and used trophy AK-47 in fights. Yeah, like I said, I've heard the AK-47s are the superior weapon in many respects, but probably because of the Defense Department's contract with certain companies in America, we prefer the M16. And like the M16, I guess, is part of all the NATO weapons. Where back in the day, like there was a separation, like the M16 and so forth, with all the weapons from NATO, and the AK-47 weapons like that were part of the Warsaw Pact weapons. But like I said, my drill sergeants had said the AK-47 was the superior weapon. However, the caveat is people say if you are going to buy AK-47, buy the Russian model. Don't buy the Chinese model. People said the Chinese AK-47 is bullshit. So that's what I've heard. Igor says thank you, Roka. Thank you so much. Bonnie says hello, Pokemon. Diddy says it's all lies. And then he's back, guys. Take that, 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 take that. He said they trying to keep a successful black man down. Also, that he could use all your blessings. Poverty, desperation, and fear breeds hopelessness and anger. Tal Benton says Memorial Day is a lie, and just for that, you can get your terrorist supporting ass off my motherfucking channel and never fucking appear. You fucking. I ain't gonna. Well, I'm not gonna say it on. I'm not gonna say that on YouTube. I was gonna say something that I shouldn't say on YouTube. um, Igor says I'm big on guns. I have a 1911, also Glock 19 and Glock 45, and AR-15 and AK-74. Love guns. Looking to buy now a shotgun, and that would be all anyone would need to scare off people just from pumping it. Yeah, that's what everyone says. Like, just just racking your shotgun is enough to is a deterrent for a lot of people. Hearing someone rack their shotgun. You say you love guns. I'm actually surprised that you don't already have one, because like I said, a lot of people say that's probably like the best gun for just like simple home defense. I know a lot of people also like the 1911 because they like that classic weapon from like World War I. Um, but yeah, I'm surprised you don't already have a shotgun. I don't know if you were in the chat previously, Igor, but I was saying the only reason I haven't already bought those sorts of weapons is because I plan on moving back overseas permanently, and I don't want to buy a bunch of weapons here and then I have to abandon them here in the U.S. when I go overseas and then buy them all over again. I was saying I might as well just wait till I go overseas to buy them, because the Philippines has a huge gun culture, many people aren't aware of, but they have a gun culture out there too. It's just things are way safer because their laws make way more sense. You have to, you know, they have a national background check and a psychological evaluation you have to take to legally, own a gun there. Plus, when you go to stores, I think we talked about this before. Plus, like when you go to stores, like if you just go to like a convenience store or the mall, they are armed security everywhere. Like people would be surprised going to like a McDonald's on the star and a Starbucks, and you see armed security out there, with like shotguns and rifles. Although some people have said that those weapons aren't actually armed. I mean, actually loaded. I'm not sure, but the point is that they do actually have armed security. If you go to like any mall or to just like just random retail locations like Starbucks or McDonald's, you'll see armed security out there, and you don't see any sort of violence popping off. Did he say he's an ego count of violence if if you want to see guns? I would turn down that offer if I were you, Igor. Yeah, I did have a great weekend. Thanks. What about you? You fry up anything on the grill? Mercanoid Peanut Butter said, Did you throw the shot put? Did he say I plead the fifth? James Eric is back. What's up, James? Did he says I have a Macmillan sniper rifle. USA still employs the 308. You thinking the SK AK-47 only Russian? No, there's a China. No, there's. I'm telling you, there's a Chinese version of the AK-47. There is. I'm just saying it's not. It's not good quality. It's the SK that's Chinese and Russian. I mean, you could be right, but like I'm saying, I'm getting this from someone. I'm getting this from other people who are gun nuts themselves. Like I said, I don't know guns like that, but the guy whom was talking about it said there. He said if you are gonna buy AK-47s, only buy Russian. Don't buy Chinese. So, but he didn't say an SK. He literally said it's an AK-47. But like I said, he could be wrong, but that's what I heard. Igor says it's okay. I'll take his nice comment. We do prefer being called Marines, but I'll take soldier. That's fair. He said ban his ass. Risa said I just made an Instagram account and follows you. Okay, thank you. I'm gonna check it as soon as I get off here. Um, so I guess type 56 variant. Okay. Yeah, but like I said, it's an AK-47. I'm not saying they're the same type, but what I did hear the guy saying is don't buy the Chinese one because it's not good quality. All right, I've saved it right now, Risa. Risa Chan, 554. Got you. Thank you. Guys, did I get rid of that Taliban guy? I tried to make sure I removed him and I hid him from the channel because I already said anyone come in talking disrespectfully about the military, about service members, or making fun of Memorial Day is automatically banned from my channel indefinitely because you're not going to make fun of people who literally paid with their lives. Um, that they gave us this holiday today. That's it's not just disrespectful. It's it's demeaning. Did he say Igor? You just need a strong pimp. Elenia Pazzo says, "Why do they say Navy SEALs are gay?" First of all, Eliana, thanks for coming to the channel. Two, I'll say this: there's no one who's ever called a Navy SEAL gay to their face and gotten away with it. I'll say that much. Navy SEALs are spec ops. There's no people. No, people have made fun of people in the Navy for being gay, and Igor can tell you about that. That people have made fun of people in the Navy being gay. Um, it's a running joke amongst like the Marines and the Army that we call people in the Navy gay. But I don't know anyone that would call a Navy SEAL gay, not to their face. He said we talked about it. I'm okay hearing it again. Speak your mind, brother. I'm just happy to be here and see you in great spirits. Thanks. Uh, Aaron Ruger says you can legally put your guns in storage like U-Haul for $80 a month. Yeah, I'm just saying. So the the question is though, I would be moving permanently overseas, and I dealing with the different laws of different countries. It wouldn't make sense to buy guns that I'm just going to keep here indefinitely in storage because I wouldn't be able to bring them overseas with me. It would be literally easier for me just to buy them here. Like I said, I am going to buy a handgun, but that's going to be for my bug out bag again. And like I said, I would appreciate. Can you guys tell me? So I plan on doing a video about the bug out bag. Should I do it as a live stream, or would you guys like it as a pre-recorded video? Because that's the only reason I haven't done it yet. So I was discussing it with my wife whether I should do it as a pre-recorded video or as a live stream. She said I should do it as a live stream, but only if I already had everything already like like if I already had taken everything out the bag to be prepared to show on the live stream, as opposed to like taking things out leisurely from the bag for the live stream. Nicholas Evans says, I remember you was conflicted, misusing your influence. Sometimes I did the same. Not I. Risa says, here, gun culture is very limited. Only police officers and government officials have their hands on one, and usually they're locked up unless it's an emergency. That's true, but there are gun shops in Japan. I know there aren't a lot, but there are a few for civilians. But the rules are very restrictive on who can acquire them. But there are gun shops there, not like here where you can find one in every city, but or several in every city here. Let's be honest. But yeah, over there you might find there are several, but not a lot throughout the country. As far as I know, I don't think there's any within Tokyo. But I don't know. I can't remember the places, but yeah, I've seen there's a few gun shops out there, and civilians can get their hands on them, but they gotta go through a lot of legal hurdles to acquire them. Um, which is why, like the guy who murdered Shinzo Abe 2 years ago, he actually did a DIY gun, and they actually found other DIY guns in his home after after he assassinated Prime Minister Shinzo Abe. Risa Chan says, for citizens, it's almost impossible to get a gun, so nobody tries. Like I said, I know the rules are strict, but it is it is actually possible to acquire one. It's just very strict. Elena Pezzo says Memorial Day is a lie. The government can eat stuff. Well, you're gone. So I literally gave the warning in the beginning of the stream. People don't come with that nonsense, but of course they will anyway, because it's an indication of the American public school system. Igor says, chill with my family, had some barbecue with a few of my platoon brothers who are home on leave. Okay, that's what's up. Oh, and I forgot that you're still active duty. I forgot that. So that's what's up. Um, man, I do miss those days. Like I said, I told my wife if I was to stay here, I was thinking about doing DC National Guard because they're looking for prior service members. That would be the only thing that would keep me here in the states. Would I would sign up for maybe DC National Guard and do that just to extend my VA benefits. So I it's under consideration, but more than likely I'm just gonna move overseas and not try to do DC National Guard as much as I would probably enjoy that. Bonnie says, "Does the U.S. manufacture any guns here?" Oh yeah, oh yes, very much so. Um, we have entire industries just for that. Mercanoid Peanut Butter says, "Is it true Jollibees is a human trafficking operation that traffics only transgender citizens for their organs?" What? No. What? I don't know if you're trying to be funny, but no, Jollibee is just Jollibee is the McDonald's of the Philippines. Um, they're a very successful um, food oriented corporation that owned by JFC, the Jollibee Food Corporation, I think it's called. They own actually a bunch of chains of restaurants, not just Jollibees, but um, Chow King, um, and a few other chains. They they brought Panda Express to the Philippines 3 years ago, so they they bought a franchise. They bought part of the franchise of Panda Express and brought it to the Philippines. Um, it's they don't do. They're not a sketchy corporate. They're not a sketchy restaurant chain any more than any other fast food chain is. And as far as I'm aware, they're not involved in anything like that. Igor says the Russian Kalashnikov is the best. I've heard of that, but I don't remember what it looks like. Divine Fool says just get an RPG. Those aren't legal. You can't buy an RPG. You're more boss with an RPG than a gun. Yeah, except you cannot legally buy an RPG. It's not as no. Try it if you want, and the ATF will be knocking on your door the next day. Actually, there's an ATF agent that lives in my community. Igor says a Russian Kalashnikov SV rifle is even better. G Money Kush Gang says my curtains look like shower curtains. These, um, I guess they're puffy because the window is open, so it's blowing air into them to make them puff out like that. Exactly, Igor. He said, "Yeah, call them to their face gate." I would pay money for the typical internet troll to go up to an actual Navy SEAL, whether active or retired, and call them gay. I would pay money to see that, Igor. Seriously. Now I don't care if that Navy SEAL is like 60 years old. I would pay money or dare some internet troll to say because anyone on the internet saying stuff like that, they're not even built like that. Let's be honest. Like people who come for me online, they wouldn't want to see me face to face, and I don't even look threatening. I don't even look threatening, but more than likely, no one's gonna talk the trash they do to me online that they would like to my face, and I'm not even threatening you. But go up to a SEAL team member, even better, someone from DevGru, which is formerly SEAL Team 6. Go to someone from DevGru and call them gay. Please do, please. I would love it, right? I would pay money for that. So Bonnie says, do it live stream the bug out bag. All right. Like I said, that's what that's what Mrs. Contrarian said too. Um, she's like, yeah, you should do it a live stream and just have everything already like prepared, which that could be rewarding. Um, that might be better than doing it as a pre-recorded video. Igor says Navy SEALs and Marines famous for saying "fuck around and find out." Exactly right. You reach that asymptote, the point where you reach the the fuck around, and the part where you reach find out, and that's the point of no return. The Reese says live stream so we can interact. All right, so I'm gonna do that this week. I will do the bug out bag this week. I had thought about doing it today, but I just wanted to get more feedback first before I do it. So yeah, I'll do it as a live stream because it seems that's what everyone is saying to do. Mercanoid Peanut Butter says that Nicholas, even I found myself screaming in the hotel room. The evils of Lucy were all around me. Okay. Risa says even the citizens who do get guns, they usually have to drop them off at police stations with a pass to carry them to make sure they don't commit any shootings. I'm fine with that. Like, if I'm in a country where most people don't own guns and I can legally own one, and the requirement is I have to pass them to the police station, I don't have a problem with that. Like, the thing is, legal gun owners, regardless of the country, regardless of the rules, they will abide by the rules. The problem is criminals don't abide by the rules, so the laws don't affect them, right? At least in America, because for reasons. But yeah, I wouldn't if I could legally own one there, and no, and most people couldn't. Fine, I'll do it. But yeah, but it does. But at least you did confirm my point that there are gun shops there where some civilians can own them. But like I said, it's just very severe limitations on it. And I'm guessing maybe the people who joined the Japanese Defense Force, I think that's what they call the military out there. I'm guessing they can own them at least while they're on duty. Igor says we Marines support Navy folks. Navy folks help us get to where we need to go. Much respect to Navy, especially when they cover our backs from the sky as well. Yeah, because I'm joking about the Navy being gay because I don't have a problem with Navy. Like I don't know if you were on the chat, Igor, but I was saying like when I graduated high school originally, I was actually going to go Navy first. I talked to this recruiter. She was really cute. It was this white lady. She had freckles. She looked like she looked sort of like Wendy's from the Wendy's restaurant, not the old middle aged Wendy's, the real Wendy's, like the one how the Wendy's looked when she was a kid. Like, but she was a grown woman. She was a naval recruiter. She had reached out to me and was talking to me, drove me around, all this sort of stuff, and I came very close to enlisting, and I didn't enlist for a very shallow reason, which was I had a girlfriend when I was 17, so I didn't enlist when I was 17, just because once I graduated, I wanted to stay in the DC area and have a girlfriend. One of the worst reasons to not join, or one of the best reasons to not join, depending on your perspective. But yeah, I had almost joined the Navy at first, and I remember my father was mad because he was like, "Oh, he just want to join the Navy because his uncle was in the Navy, because my father was Army." So he was. That was funny. I guess it would have been worse if like I had joined the Navy and then when I went on to college, I ended up becoming a Sigma, which is one of the black fraternities, black Greek lettered organizations. Because I almost did become a Sigma in college too. He would have hated that. He would have said the same thing. Oh, he just want to be a Sigma because his uncle is Sigma. Oh, and to that I would have said, well, yeah, because the Kappas were kicked off my campus. Well, this is tangential to the conversation, but anyway, back to the point was, yeah, I have nothing but respect for Navy because like I said, the first military branch I almost joined was the Navy, and the only reason I didn't is because at the time I had a girlfriend and I wanted to be home to be with her. But the naval recruiter was very cute, and she almost had me join. Like I said, she looked like Wendy's with the freckles and everything, and the reddish hair. I think she was a ginger. She was either ginger or she was a brunette, and it looked almost red. Um, but yeah. Plus, at, at the time, I wanted an offshore job, and she was like, "Oh yeah, you can find an offshore job." So Risa said my grandpa has a shotgun for hunting, and he has to drop it off before hunting, but but he's chill. Okay. What's legal to hunt out there? I didn't even know they had a hunting season in Japan. That's something new I just learned. See, that's why I want you to be my tour guide when I come out there. This is stuff I didn't know. Skylar, the creator, said, "Do you feel blame? Are you mad? Do you feel like Woo Franix? What? I don't know what you're talking about." Igor says, "I'm going private contractor when I'm done with my last tour." Okay. When you say private contractor, do you mean like like those private security firms? What's that one that got so much flack back during the Persian Gulf War? And so much so, didn't you remember they had to rename themselves because people hated them? Black something, black. I can't remember the name of them, but there was that private security firm that the U.S. hired, and a lot of military were mad because they were basically serving the same function as many of the infantry, but they were getting paid like 3 times more than them. Uh, Hold up, just responding to Mrs. Contrarian, guys. Alphas and cubs as family, then don't eat it. All right, that person's getting timed out. Too many dysfunctional people. Um, Igor says MRA and MRE packs now have good choices too. McDonald's as well. Yeah, they do. I was I don't think he was in the chat. I was talking about that literally like a few live streams ago where I was saying MREs are kind of tasty. And I was saying even back in the late 90s when we were in basic training, like when we were doing bivouacs, like I used to other people hated the MREs. I'd be like shit, I'll eat it. Cause like I didn't care that we had to stay up 3 days straight for our like a 3 day field training exercises. As long as I could eat continuously, I was a happy camper. So I was like, "Oh, you don't want that chicken chow mein? Yeah, get that to me. Oh, you don't? Oh, you don't want that? Yeah, I'll take it." Even like the peanut butter and crackers, I was having a field day. I was so mad back in it was like 2014 or 2015, where the military was testing out all their new meals, and they were paying people to eat the MREs. The only caveat was that you could only eat MREs for that small 30. I think it was like a 30-day or 60-day study, and I should have did it because that would have been like free meals to eat. Plus, I was getting paid for it, and you got to try out all those new meals. And I've seen some of the new meals now that they have. And they look kind of delicious. I'm not gonna even lie. Desert Fox says, so there are no gay Navy SEALs. That's not the point. The point is the person was trying to make fun of an entire group of people based on sexual orientation. People who could kick the living shit out of him any given day, including you and I. Well, maybe not me, but definitely you and the other guys for calling him gay. Like, these guys are trained to kill. They are special ops. They are tier 2 special operation forces. Regardless of their sexual orientation, you can't hurt them. So what does it matter what their sexual orientation is? Like I said, I would pay money for any of you people, whether you're trolls or you're just whatever. None of you have it's obvious none of you been into the military. None of you, most of you the younger millennials, not the older millennials, but most of the younger millennials and most of you Gen Z barely even do physical education in high school and middle school anymore. You couldn't do 50 push-ups to save your life, and you're gonna sit there and try to call people who literally kill for a living gay. Yeah, okay, let's see how that goes. Ask one of them in real life. See how that goes. Exactly. Just like Eric says, even if they are gay, they're more masculine than you. Risa said, I'm going to leave to make lunch. I'll be back if the live is still on. No, I'm not going to be here after 12. That would be midnight here. I'm on Eastern Standard Time. So I'm going to be gone by then too. I'm going to reach out to you on your socials since you gave me that. Okay. Matter of fact, just to let me make sure I got that again. Sorry, let me just write that down, guys. But thanks. Send it to me again, just in case, Risa. But have a great day though. Thank you for chatting with us. Mercanoid Peanut Butter says I'm leaving. Good night. Reggie Rootgar, owner of Rutgers Gentlemen's Club and Party Megabus. That's what you do. If so, I don't mind you shouting that out. Desert Fox, it wasn't a weird commentary. What he said was completely apt to what you said. You're saying, well, what if they are gay? It's irrelevant to the point that what they do is so top notch that it doesn't matter. The point the other person was saying was basically he was basically saying gay in the context of trying to say that they're soft when he's more of a man than any internet troll will ever be. They're tier 2 special operation force, and they do more in a day than most of you will ever do in a lifetime. So I couldn't care less if any of them were gay. They're still more masculine than all of you are, especially if you're under 30. Almost all of you under 30 suffer from low testosterone, and it shows in what y'all say. Y'all talk like women online. Nintendo Collector said, did you ever kidnap a child during your service? Ego said Wendy girl. Yeah, she looked like Wendy's. Like she had the freckles and everything. Like the Navy knew what they were doing when they made her a recruiter. They knew she was cute. Ego said I was about to go Navy as well, but my cousin went to Marine, so I had to follow. It's a macho thing in our family. Now I hear you. Like I said, I only went Army because they were the only ones that could like offer like the the widest range of jobs. Because after Navy, I almost did Air Force, and I actually went to enlist in Air Force. And then I found out that the job that I wanted, they couldn't hold it for me while I went to training. So it might be available, it might not be available, and if not, I would just have to choose something else. And I was like, that sounds kind of whack. And that's when I think my father or someone else said, go talk to the armies. And I did. And I found out the Army can lock in any MOS that you qualify for. I think the Marines is the same way. Any MOS you qualify for, they will lock it in for you while you go off to basic training, which is exactly what happened. So the Air Force tried to actually keep me from from joining the Army by refusing to give over all my enlistment paperwork that I did for them, but eventually they were forced to hand it over. So, BlackRock, yeah, they changed their name to something else, but is that the sort of like private contractor you would do afterwards? Or I don't know if you ever watched Netflix, The Punisher, when the bad guy, um, who was like his friend back in the Marines, he owned his own private security firm full of prior service enlistees, and he was his company was supposed to be like BlackRock in Netflix Marvel, But I remember they renamed it because they caught so much flack for their stuff. But they used to do stuff like guard the embassy in Iraq and stuff like that. Igor says Eric is founder of BlackRock now, and it's called Academy. Okay, a soldier. A soldier is a soldier. We don't care if the person is gay or straight, as long as they do their job and hold their own. Perfectly said. So currently, kids are weak and brainwashed and unpatriotic, but they live in America. If anyone hates our country, they are welcome to leave at any time. No one's holding you here. Exactly. Like I said, I have my misgivings about America, but again, I actually do have a passport and a house overseas, so I can talk. I can talk it how I walk it, right? Whereas other people will just talk trash, and they're not going anywhere. They'll talk about this president or that president and say, well, if this president gets elected, like Trump, they say, Trump gets elected, I'm going to Canada. Then all these people who were supposedly going to Canada back in 2016, they're still here. Eric Rogan says, gotta go. Nice chatting with you. Happy Memorial Day. Thanks again, Eric. Appreciate it. Carrie Smith is in the house. Nintendo Collector said, you're gonna be disrespectful and not answer my question when you know damn well you took my son because some redhead snow bunny convinced you kidnapping my kids was safe. So last time we talked, last time you were in the live stream, Nintendo Collector, I thought you were gonna be a cool person, but now first you're disrespecting Memorial Day. I already said at the beginning of this live stream, anyone who's disrespectful about Memorial Day or to service members is getting permanently banned from this channel. And you doubled down on it instead of saying I was just joking, I apologize. I would have let it go. But since you're gonna double down on the insult, you're gone from my fucking channel. You fucking mook. So anyway, guys, I'm about to go. It's almost midnight. So Egon says yes, Academy is where I'm being recruited to now. All right, well, much success to you. Like I said, it's gonna be like triple, maybe quadruple what you're making in the service over there. So I know while a lot of active duty service members are jealous of people who worked for BlackRock or the Academy now, I know there's probably a lot of prior service folks that probably they hired and probably appreciate the company a lot. Like I said, the same way they appreciated the guy in the show The Punisher, how he treated them pretty well before he lost his mind. Igor says most military men are pro-Trump. Yeah, I'm not surprised. Most military men are conservative anyway, right? Um, he said, I'm one of those military men. We support the man because he supports us and he truly loves America. Yeah, that's it. And like I said, the 4 years he was in office, he didn't get us in any wars. So, yeah, I don't know why all these trolls are invading, but in any case, shout out Teresa over in Japan who held down the conversation with us, with Eric the Guapo, Eric Roca, Igor, um, everyone else that contributed. I don't want to forget anyone who held down the conversation. I had to remove Desert Fox. Mercanoid Peanut Butter had interesting comments as well. Um, but yeah, what KT said. This will be the last question I'll take. KT says, "Why do you think military recruitment is so low right now?" So I suggested an answer to that early on in the stream. I think there's a multifaceted reason why. I think one of the major parts of it is that young folks have more options today than they did 30 years ago. Back 30 years ago, you either went to college, you went to the military, or you went to trade school. Um, but there's more options nowadays to, and low some of the lower so-called lower skilled jobs pay better than they did back then. That's that's so there's more options. Two is that the entry level standards have gone up very high during peacetime, that make it harder for the average person to get in. A lot of, as I was suggesting earlier, a lot of young people don't get public, don't receive very much physical education in school anymore. Gym was like an everyday thing for us. That's not so in many schools. Some schools have taken physical education completely out their curriculum, and others who do, is not even every day. It's like maybe 3 days a week, something like that. So most of them can't pass basic physical requirements to get into the military. And then the third is that a lot of them, through social media and other things, have become so anti-American. Like everything to them about America is to be disdained and hated, that they would not want to serve in the military even if they did qualify. So for this and all and other reasons, a lot of people aren't joining the military, and that's why they aren't meeting their quotas. So that's pretty much why, KT. Just like I said, there's more financial options. A lot of people can't physically qualify, and a lot of people with higher education have been taught to hate American values. So, um, Igor says, "Thanks, brother. You have a great week and stay up." Thank you. I appreciate it, man. All the time. Thank you. KT says, "State of Oklahoma remove PE from schools." See, that's what I'm talking about. Like, you know, back when we were in school, like I hate to be like back in the day, but yeah, back in the day. So like, kids in the 80s and 90s, we were expected to go to gym every day. Like you might go from history class to gym to English. So you go from learning about, I don't know, the Civil War at like 8 a.m. By 9 p.m. you sitting there hanging on a rope. Like Jerry Seinfeld made a joke about that, by the way. He was saying like how school was so weird. Like you go from like English class to like um the lost some sort of like the lost boys situation, and then you hit to math class afterwards. Like what the hell was that? But yeah, gym was like part of the daily education curriculum, and now at best in some curriculums is only part-time, and some places have completely removed it, like you said in Oklahoma. He said back in the late 1900s. I hate that. No, it calls it late 1900s. I called it I'll just say the 1990s. I'll say even up to the 2000s, gym was a daily part of school. It wasn't until like a lot of cutbacks, because especially during the Bush era, when they started trying to teach to the standardized tests, that they start taking out all the other programs in school that wasn't teaching to the test, which happened to be had to be specifically English and math. So anything that wasn't either English, math, or science was getting out. So art was getting cut out, music was getting cut out, gem was getting cut out. Maybe even sometimes history was being cut out, but all those things were being cut out instead of math, science, and English. And a lot of this happened mostly in the lower income schools and the less funded rural schools as well. And it hurt people's education, and it made children less healthy. So anyway, with that, I'm going to end it. Thanks, KT. Even though you came at the end of the stream, feel free to jump in on my live streams. I've been starting to do one like almost every day now. So, um, sometime this week, I'm going to be doing a live stream about the contents of my bug out bag. And I still have something coming from Mrs. Contrarian. She's going to give like a little special thing for me last week, reaching 1,000 subscribers. She didn't do it last week, as I know I promised everyone that she would, but they had a typhoon hit the island, so I told her it's not a good idea to go out. She wasn't going to anyway, but I told her, yeah, we can wait, um, since the typhoon hit, for her to go out and do something fun for us. So with that, I'm gonna go, guys. Appreciate everyone contributed. Particularly Eric Wapo, Eric Roca, Igor, my man in the Marines, um, my new friend in Osaka, Risa. Hopefully I can reach out to her and we can connect so I can get a tour happening. Um, but if anyone has any other comments or questions, I'm uploading this video. You can leave a question there, or you can reach out to my socials either on Facebook, Instagram, or email. All right. Thanks, guys. Again, happy Memorial Day to everyone. Appreciate it.